Hell no,
so.
we don't know what we're doing.
No, man.
Big smile.
Just a
big smile.
Just a hobbyist.
It's all right. All hobbies. Everything started as a hobby.
Right. I even have a real job that's.
No, don't tell me that. You gave in. God damn it.
No. I mean, I've just been trying to do this. Honestly, this is more of like.
It's your passion.
Yeah.
I'll try not to
talk real loud. Give me
Hey, what the hell's going on, world? What are we doing today? Anything stupid? I encourage.
Beautiful.
There we go. If you're not doing life right. Coming from somebody that's on a ticking clock, I recommend you take your asses outside.
That's right.
Or inside and do things that you shouldn't do because you only have one chance to do it. And for those of my friends that have Alzheimer's, remember, it's always your first time. No matter what it is. Have you ever done drugs? Nope. Okay, today's the day.
Right.
Tomorrow,
let's
same
go.
question. Have you ever done drugs?
No.
Nope. Well, today's the day.
Man, this is this has been a long time coming, right? How long have we said we wanted to do this?
Oh, like you said, I think at least 5 years.
Dude,
it's got to be at least 5 years. I think we were talking at the shop one day, and you're like, "We got to do this as a podcast."
It's the like being in front of house at a show and sitting there, you're programming, and I'm building EQs and stuff, and we're talking about just like anything
Random,
and everything,
dumb shit.
Yeah.
And you got to have the cheesy poof guts all over the console,
Right.
orange fingerprints,
Snacks.
some greasy chicken on the faders on the audio desk. You know you've done your job. Carny food, brother.
That's right, because that's a delicacy in that world.
That's
too,
right.
You know?
Those street trucks are making millions because guys like us were guinea pigs have tried it.
That's right. It's like, well, I got 7 minutes until I need to be back, and I need to use the bathroom too. I got to order this, and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What asshole sat down and said, "Those assholes will eat a deep fried Twinkie," and we did, and we ate lots of them.
I bragged to their buddy back at the stage, like, man, I just got this, and they're like, ooh, yeah, that's
funnel. Hey, let me give you all advice out there. Funnel cakes, not a good idea. No, the last time I did that, it blew the powdered sugar all over the police officer next to me. The police officer, I looked at him and said, "Wow, we really had a good time." He just shook his head. We had no idea the fan was going to do that. We were at Marshland Festival. That officer looked at me and went, and his friends started laughing because we were covered in it. They turned on one of them big fans in front of the house.
Right, yeah.
And it blew all the powdered sugar all over me and him. And I looked at him and said, "Looks like we had a hell of a good time." He looked at me and just shook his head. I don't know.
He was just like officially no comment.
Yeah, we had one of them. I'm wearing a badge and a uniform, and I can't talk about it. But his friends were laughing so hysterically, taking pictures of him that.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going for him for a career move, but whatever it takes.
It's a good look, man. You can't get ruined nowadays. You can get canceled, but then like people will get canceled for a little while, but they still have to go to work eventually. So
sooner or later, he's going to be back in Marshall looking for me. Where's that guy with the powdered sugar donuts? Because the funnel cakes are not a good idea. They cover the console. You look like you had a really good time, but in reality, you've been there 14 hours, hate your job, you're not getting paid enough, your kids are pissed off, and your back hurts because you're sitting at the same console going, "What the hell did I volunteer for this shit for?"
And you just ate a grease bomb that's giving you the bubble guts.
Oh,
it's like
bubble
the perfect
guts everywhere. And some drunk guy, "You want some of this here tequila?" No. It's been sitting in the sun for 12 hours? No.
Somebody walks up and says, "Hey, it's too loud. Turn it down." And then somebody walks up on the other side and says, "Hey, can you turn it up? I can't."
Yeah.
It's just like, "Yep, all right." Well.
Yeah, and I always, the lights are in my eyes. I always point to the audio guy. Or when they come to me and they say to me, "Hey, it's too loud." I look at them and I go, "Look at the stage," and they look, and I pull the main down and it's black. Now, I didn't say turn the lights off. That's too loud for me. I'm the lighting tech here. Audio might be next to me.
The other guy.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
He's the guy covered in chicken. You
Right,
might want to talk to him.
Chicken grease runs deep in the audio world, though. That's just one of them things. It makes things sound better. A good audio is always brought to you by fried chicken.
Yes, all my friends in the audio world are usually round and going, "I've been doing this too long." And you open up their travel kit, they got Rolaids, they got stuff for gas, they got stuff for everything in that kit. And you're like, yeah, you've been there a while.
You got to stay prepared. You need adapters. You need, gas station drugs. You need caffeine. Lots and lots of caffeine.
Lots of everything you get your hands on at that point. By hour 14, you're burned up. You can't hear.
And you still have to do loadout after it's over with.
Oh, yeah. By the way, we're going to load out 3 semis
Right.
in 4 hours.
Yeah.
Ready?
We got to.
No.
So,
That's always the hardest and the worst part of it is the end.
yeah.
Depending on your state of mind. I mean, if you're totally intoxicated, they might put you in a corner and wrap you in a drape and say, stay the hell out of the way because you're just not doing us any good.
I have seen that, you know, it's like solitary confinement, but just like, hey, this is for your own good, brother.
Yeah.
Just sit here for a minute.
Yeah.
Here, smoke this cigarette.
Yeah, put your pipe in your mouth, go sit in the corner. Yeah. And then I'm yelling, when is this going to get done? You're like, idiot, it's been done 30 minutes. We're just waiting for you to unwrap out of that blanket you're in so you can get the hell out of here. Okay.
Right. Rocking back and forth, kind of just.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It's a good gauge of a good day or a bad day. And I used to always tell this to Abby when I'd come home from a gig. She said, "Was it a good gig today?" And I said, "Well, nobody got called a motherfucker today, so it was a good day."
Yes.
And that's how you know. Like,
yes. Nobody even got hurt. Maybe a nick or two. Don't count the chunkers in the legs from the road cases that people leave latches open for.
you got to close the latches on your road cases.
And
Just
what the hell's wrong with
PSA.
you? Close the latch, new guys. Latches are terminal. I got scars up and down what's left of these legs, all chewed up, all latch related.
And it's when you're having a really good day. That's whenever they get you,
Yeah.
you know, like, or if you're the opposite of that, if you're having like the worst day ever, the insult to injury is a gash in the side of the leg from a road
Or you're
case
that guy
slash.
that just got his first new pair of jeans in like 5 years and you rip that latch and big scratch right across below the knee. It's just hanging wide open, meat hanging out, and the damn material's destroyed.
Right.
Yeah, you're doing a show.
That's
I've worked with guys over the years. One guy won't, screw it, Roger. He could go to a show in completely white clothes and never get dirty.
Yeah.
He worked his ass off, but he somehow managed to stay clean. We always question, how many pairs of shorts and shirts are you carrying with you, buddy?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge question. Like how
He would
had to
climb
change.
everywhere.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
What the hell? He always made sure he looked pretty. Pretty boy Floyd. Roger, we love you. You hear it? Good. If not, too fucking bad. Truth hurts.
You think somebody like that would be good? You know the movies when they're breaking into the bank to the safe and they've got all the lasers.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that never gets dirty would probably be good at that. You know.
Perfection.
Yeah.
There you go. Why don't you go up there and do that? Unwrap all those cables.
I'm filthy. I normally bring at least one change of clothes
Well,
with me.
I always look at the guys that look tribal. They
Yeah.
got like the grease streaks on their face because you've been working your ass. Here's a
Right.
Pepsi. I gave you that because obviously you've been working. Because I know when I started, they didn't want me to stay in this industry. They wanted me to get out. They said, you're too intelligent. And I was like, what? Yeah, you're too intelligent. You need to go to school because I was going to be a stockbroker.
Oh, yeah.
True story. So they were like, why don't you unwrap that whole feeder, unband it, wipe it all down, reband it, put it back together, and I'll come back and look at it. They were trying to break me to quit.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it. I was like, no. When I started, I was only on the lighting console, and then I decided, you know what? Fuck this. I want to learn this crazy ass industry so I can stand there and talk to a rigger or an electrician or a guy building the stage and have the same mentality they had. Some of them are a little off.
You got to be a little
are.
throwed off
You
to work in
know
this
you
business.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's some that you just got to go,
Yeah.
You just got to kind of question it. But I mean, after, 30 something years, I think I figured it out. But, I have a saying every day when you don't learn,
Yeah.
it's your last day.
That's right.
It's not going to cooperate because it's me. It's Charlie Brown, man.
That's all right. They're new mic stands, so they're
They got
still
that
being
squeaky.
worked in.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're squeaky.
Squeaky,
Squeaky.
fresh. They don't even have any gashes in the side. I hadn't had to spray paint them black again.
I can't use this. It looks too nice. I mean, can you do something stupid to it? Bend a leg or something?
Only the finest for you, Rich.
I love it.
After we'll do like Kurt Cobain and dive into it.
Yeah,
After the,
I can't dive anywhere, but I'll try.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'll try. I'll run it over with the wheelchair, but
Yeah, you get one side, I'll get the other.
Yeah,
We'll fuck
Ross
'em
will
up.
tag team it, slam it in the door or something.
We don't have a truck here to run it over with big enough, to
No,
really
and
mangle it.
that's a great story. I had a friend of mine years ago. His name was Dan Lockamy. I love him. He's deceased now. And he had the worst temper. I mean, he'd lose his mind. And one day we were doing a show, and I don't remember the artist, and he was using an ACL, which is a type of park can. They come in groups of 4.
Yeah.
And one of them wouldn't work, and he lost his mind, so he takes it out in the parking lot, gets his bread truck that he hauled all of his gear in, and just starts driving over it back and forth. And I'm sitting outside smoking my pipe, just watching, saying, now I know what not to do,
Yeah.
and pancaked it. And everywhere he went, he took that little smashed up piece of aluminum to remind him of stupidity and anger in its finest. That was it right there.
That's a good like a totem to carry with you, just
Yeah,
like remind you of
just
what
standing
you
up
know.
in the corner, it's totally destroyed.
Yeah, and
I
mean,
get it. I've had a few in my time. I know I can throw an Able-Light console 5 rows in a theater. I've done it. Because
yeah, that's impressive. That's good numbers.
5 rows.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid chunk. That was the old school wood frame one. Weighed a ton. Lost my mind and threw it. And as I'm throwing it, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? As it's flying through the air. Oh, shit, I got to fix it. Oh, no. But it worked. I turned that shit on. 2 faders broke. Off I went again. It was a good time.
Man, you really missed like $1 million idea. They have these rage rooms now where like you can just pay money at the door to just go and like break shit.
You know
and,
what,
like,
though? Why don't you just go to a contractor that does demolitions in houses and say, can I have a sledgehammer for 2 hours? Just point me to something that I can break and not worry about it. And there it is. Just let me trash shit. Instead of
I'll wear
a rage
goggles
room,
and gloves.
Yeah,
you
I'll
know,
do
like,
what you want me to do.
You won't get sued, I promise.
But I am going
need
to wear
this.
a helmet because I'm going to headbutt the wall.
Right.
Inevitably, I'm going to hit something with this skull, and we'd be productive in society again instead of going into a rage room. No, I tore that whole house down myself,
Yeah.
and I had a good time doing it.
Man, after the hurricane in Lake Charles, there were a lot of like busted up old buildings. And you remember the inn on the bayou, that Motel 6 right there? It got just ripped to shreds by the hurricane, and it was just like out in the open for like years, I want to say. Like a year and a half almost.
Yeah.
It was just like there rotting away. And we'd drive by it all the time, and Abby would always tell me, like, I just want to go in there just like as a public service and just like get some rage out.
See?
I was like, yeah, that's,
Why not? I was working for a buddy of mine, Paul, and he took me along just for that reason, just to demo. It was a 2-story rickety ass house. I'll never forget it. And I was on the top story, and the whole house was swaying like this back and forth. And he's like, "Hey man, you might want to get out of that building." I was like, "Why?" I'm because it's falling down. He said, if you hit one more wrong board, this building's going to collapse on you. I was like, I felt like a little kid. I was like, oh, okay.
Man.
And sure enough, he came down one board, boop, on the bottom. The whole building fell down. He said, you did great. I said, you don't owe me a dime. Just make sure I eat. I'm good. And I did. I went down there and we just destroyed shit. No, I loved it.
Man, that's good for the soul. It's cathartic as
It
hell.
is.
Just to like,
oh, what?
Yeah.
I feel so much better now. The trees are green again. Yeah, life's good. Yeah,
I mean,
more people need to experience that.
It's all about perspective, and you can like jerk your consciousness from one extreme to the other.
Yep.
In so many different ways, of course. But like that's definitely one of them. Just getting out.
And the whole key is to make sure that you keep your wits about you, because if the building's swaying, there's your sign. Get the hell out of that building. And in my case, I did not want to stop. I was perfectly content going with the building.
Yeah, you get
And he was
tunnel
like,
vision,
he's the contractor saying, please get out. Please. After I threw the sinks, and I had the best time. I mean, I'll never forget it. And sure enough, one boop, and the whole building came down. I thought, oh, imagine if we could go to the Capital One building and just go on a rage.
Oh my God, that place.
I heard they're demoing it.
They are, and people were making jokes yesterday. So you heard about the I-10 bridge in Lake Charles had an expansion joint that was loose. They had to shut the bridge down. Emergency repairs. And so it was
to
like
a condemned bridge. Let's add that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's safety out of 100 rating is in the low single digits. And it's just like, yeah, okay. And somebody commented on the picture they posted of it. It was like, by the way, the Capital One demo is going to shake the ground a lot.
A lot.
And then somebody else commented on that and said, maybe we can get a 2-for-1 deal out of it,
Yeah.
like demo the building and the bridge at the same time. Just
one excuse after another. Well, the Historical Foundation got involved because of the guns. How do you like that?
Right.
And the railings
Yeah.
have these antique guns. I'm like, take them down and put them on the new building or on the new bridge. Whatever you got to do. But when our president was, it was President Trump at the time, I think even President Biden, the Secret Service would not allow them to cross that bridge. They had to go the 210 route because it's condemned.
Right. The president cannot drive on this bridge.
But hundreds of thousands of cars a day are hauling ass over like nothing. Nobody knows any better.
The Coca-Cola company, they have 2 people that know the recipe. I wonder if like neither of them can cross the I-10
Probably
bridge.
not.
We'll have to ask. That'll be the test,
Interview them. Can you cross this bridge? No.
No, they told us specifically that bridge. No.
No.
Oh,
no.
man.
I mean, how do you have a major artery in the United States with a condemned bridge?
Well, and it's been a hot potato game. So you know the story. Like it was a state-owned bridge that was incorporated. It was built before the interstate was a thing.
Yep.
So they just kind of like absorbed it into the interstate system, and like it was good. It's a post, after the Depression. It's like 30s.
30s. It was in the 30s.
And so like it was well built, and it was meant to last a certain lifetime. But it's like beyond that by a long shot. And they never dreamed that this many cars.
No.
And like 18-wheelers weren't it, like semis. That wasn't a thing back then. They had the railroad for everything. So I was like, yeah, it'll be fine for this many years, just with like,
normal traffic,
Model Ts, and
I learned something. My mother is married to her husband. His name is Roy, and he built post-tension cable bridges, storage tanks, everything. And I learned something about bridges. Bridges are designed for motion. The ratings of the bridge is actually the motion of the vehicles passing. Okay.
Yeah.
The kinetic motion is what they're looking at with the weight incorporated. It's the formula they use.
Yeah.
So imagine when they take 100 trucks and cars and the bridge gets closed, all that dead weight just sitting on the bridge. It's not built for that.
Yeah. Well, and yesterday, the people that were on the bridge when they had the emergency closure, they got stuck going up one direction. They had to back down, and it was like a whole mess. So, and then the other side is open. So you have that like,
now
but
you're
it's
out of balance.
balanced.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's leaning one way. So it's terrifying, I think.
I don't know why, Jack, get out.
Oh, he's good.
I don't understand why that it won't get done. I know it's federal money, and we're supposed to be building our infrastructure.
Right.
Look, I'm looking over his butt. Look at that. Look at your phone. Jack, could you move? Could you go somewhere? Just go, Jack.
We could
Thank
set him
you,
up
Jack.
with a
You want a
microphone.
mic, buddy? You can come back and tell us why you didn't get enough dog food today, or what?
Oh,
Look
man,
at that
the
face. Oh yeah, sappy. I wish you people could see this. Is he sappy?
Here, I got
Look at that face. Okay. Look at that sappy face. Oh, I didn't get enough food today, and I'm gonna get in the middle of the interview, man. Fucking dog, give us a break, man.
And here, I'm gonna put this on do not disturb mode.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I was gonna text you just for the hell of it and see what it would do.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about this rig? So the name of the podcast is Bring Your Own Podcast. The whole point is
I
to
love
go.
it. Bring it. Just bring it. But it has a duality to the word. You can bring it, or you can be scared and sit like a little mouse, or you can use the mobility of the podcast and use it how you want.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. I love the setup. It's simplistic but effective all the way around. But these mic stands are too fucking new, man. This is it's too professional. It's throwing me off.
I'll drag them in the driveway a little bit.
You should have brought the rickety ones. I could have been happy. I want
these have been in Galveston. They should be rustier, but they've been inside in Galveston.
See,
so
you take good care of your stuff, Ross.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Well, and I mean, it's an investment. I'd love to get a business loan for it, but that's a lot harder to do than you would
have
think.
a corporate. They're gonna want to shut you down. Can't use the word "fuck" in this at all. Or
Right.
Can't use profanity, or you can't use any other shit that podcasts are supposed to be built for people like us to express what we want to talk about.
Right. Well, I mean, I came from the broadcast world where it was very clinical, very, very. We have a big set of rules, and there's a lot of things that you can't do. There's not many. There's about 2 pages of what you can do, and the rest is what you can't do. And so, like, yeah, I mean, to have this kind of freedom and for it to be accepted and like utilized by so many people, but there's an oversaturation. There's way too many out there.
Yeah,
I think,
and a lot of them are rambling about the same subject matter, or they're digging for shit. They're not really
or trying too hard.
Yeah,
like that's the thing that really gets me. Yeah.
What are you on here for? Oh, I want a corporate sponsor. No, you don't. You're a sellout. Come on.
Well, and the people, I mean, like forcing it at anything in life is just not, like.
No.
And
it's not sincere.
Yeah,
there's no genuineness to it at all. It's just somebody sitting there reading a script,
right?
That you can't see, and they're not talking loosely. They barely know each other.
Well, and they can't respond, and they really can't dice it up.
No.
And I feel like that's why people like podcasts a lot more than the scripted shit, because it's just like, okay, well
when you asked me to do this, I was like, is there any limitations? And he said, and I said, it's good enough for me.
Right, yeah.
I didn't get a rule packet 2 weeks in advance where I had to sign off on this shit. No.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like, the basic premise. We're going to have some microphones. We're going to talk. Don't, tell people your bank account number, I guess, if you don't want them to know it. And,
well, you might, as long as you pay the bills.
Yeah.
Get hot. Go ahead, take that.
Yeah, it's the joke's on you.
Yeah,
it's your
good
problem
luck.
now.
Yeah. When the debit card went to the machine, they pull the hand comes out and grabs you. You know you made a mistake. Yes. Or you get a kickback from the IRS saying, nope, we don't want this.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I don't think we want to mess with this one. You got your shit all fucked up. We don't need it.
Well, and I mean, it's one of those things like, to be able to have something like this and to be able to like talk to people that have interesting shit to say, and like stuff. I mean, really, the reason that I really, really, really wanted to do this with you specifically is because like you always had a lot of shit to say that really like resonated with me. That was, and it was like unconventional. We'll call it unconventional,
or
but
a
so heavy,
a warped perspective.
Yeah, but like so heavy in like down to earthedness and like truth and just common sense, like just very like
you don't want to use common sense too much in this day and age because it goes over a lot of people's heads.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, logic now to me is a lost form of expression, and that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
If you don't have the logic to know that stop sign means stop, just because it has a white ring on it, it's not optional.
Yeah.
You have to stop. And if you don't use logic or common sense, which society has become, you might please run the stop sign. Just get it over with. Why do we have warning stickers on stuff like a toaster to not go near water? I mean, who did that? Somebody had to go, I have a great idea. I'm going to have my English muffin in a tub.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you don't show up at work today, we'll all cheer for you because your burn is the bread.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is like common sense is one of those things that like everybody had and still has. But here's the rub is that like, well, if I put my toaster in the bathtub and live, I can sue the hell out of the toaster company.
Well, there you go. And
I won't have to go to work anymore.
And there is a lawyer waiting.
Do
it.
Licking his lips like,
do it, stupid. Do it.
The lawyer will pay for a specialist to come in and be like, all right, look, if you drop it in, upside down, it'll shock you real bad, but it won't kill you. And, you'll have just,
You have to set it in the proper way to get the most connective, electrical flow to your body and just to do the job properly. Save us all any more drama. We don't need it. We don't want it. I mean, it's just... But it's a society in general. It's gotten so selfish and so greedy across the board. I mean, myself, I have terminal ALS, right? So I have fallen in places. I was outside of a Waffle House. Probably shouldn't say that. But I fell and at least 10 people saw me fall. They left me laying on the ground in the rain.
God damn.
People were leaving. Finally, this old gentleman, if he wasn't in his early 80s, he was late 70s. He said, son, do you need help? I said, yes, sir. I said, I'm not drunk. I'm not on drugs. I have ALS. My legs just quit working. And this old man was trying to help me up, and I'll never forget it. And this young girl comes out, runs out of the restaurant, says, let me help you. At this time, while this was happening, there was a group of people that were probably in college, that age. They walked right past me. And two of the guys at the back of the group of 10 or 12 that were leaving realized that this was a serious problem.
Yeah.
So they finally came back and helped this older gentleman, whoever you were, thank you, and this young lady, again, no names were ever changed. And they came and helped pick me up, and I was so grateful. I couldn't even go eat because I was so upset about it that I had to figure out how am I going to get to my car with wet concrete and crutches,
man,
because the handicap parking was down 2 ramps all the way across the parking lot. I called Dawn and I said, I can't do this. I said, I can't do this anymore. I won't go anywhere alone. I won't do anything alone. But at that moment, I realized that society in general is really a mess. I mean, you don't even have a person laying on the ground. You're in trouble.
Well, I mean, it's like the personability between human beings in the last 15 to 20 years, I feel like has really just completely disintegrated. Oh. Because, and it's a lot of it has to do with the fear that we're constantly shovel fed all the time. Oh, the guy next to you is bad and you shouldn't trust him. And,
or his color's wrong.
Yeah.
Or he speaks the wrong language.
Right, yeah.
He might dress weird. I mean, if these people would have saw me when I was younger wearing Maui and Sun Hawaiian shorts and shirts, They would have looked at me like, you're definitely on drugs, you know. And here I am with a disease that I have no control over. I could just be laying on the ground. Hey, man, I need help. They look at you and go, no way, you're just fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and it's it really is a shame, and like I said, it's hard for people to make those connections. I remember a time like when I was younger that like you could just like walk and people made eye contact. People don't make eye contact anymore.
Nope.
And I mean obviously like phones and scrolling.
Well,
and
the
all
phone,
that, you know.
that's another thing that I have a problem is we're losing the generations of these kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to a spiritual man one time, and he said, here's a situation for you. And I'm not really a spiritual person, but it hit home. He said, you know, you cross over, and when you cross over wherever you go, one of the first things you have to do is communicate with where you're at. You find your relatives, find your animals. It's all verbal communication. He said, can you imagine the backlog of people standing there because they don't have their phones to communicate?
Yeah.
And I went, wow, that's pretty fucking deep, man. He said, no, it's facts. Think about it. They all sit in a room. They consider this a good time. They sit in a room. All of them are together looking at TikTok or whatever they're looking at. And they're looking at videos, and the interaction of humanity, the closeness of talking, the warmth or the emotional side of it's completely gone.
Yeah.
And they don't even know how to have they don't even know how to have a civil conversation anymore. So exactly what you said earlier, people make no contact, no eye contact. They put their heads down, they walk past. Like Wayne's World, they're like, oh,
right, yeah.
You know, and they don't realize the problem's not going away.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out a different way to attack you because it's going to come back to get you at some point sooner or later.
Well, I mean, it's the same mechanism in your brain. It's your social. I don't know the medical word for it, but it's your sociability that the doom scrolling kind of hijacks. You know, because you see people on there that you know and you recognize. Yeah. You know, a lot of them you might know in person. Some of them might be celebrities or people that you follow or whatever, and it's like. You see that and you get that social interaction, but I mean, I've been on gigs before where it's, you know, a half dozen of us all just sitting there.
Yeah, and your dopamine levels are damaged.
Yeah.
That's the thing. These kids now, even adults, their stimulus, it might not be cocaine, marijuana, amphetamine, whatever your thing was back years ago. Now it's that dopamine from the phone. It's how you interact. Ooh, and they send a message. I see somebody across the room and says, hey, how's it going? They're sending them a text.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
I mean, tell me something. Let me interrupt you. How many people on your Facebook page, I don't know how many friends you have you actually met?
I'd say most of them. And I keep my numbers low. I went through a time where I had like 4,000 friends or something, but that was back in the radio days, and I was DJing in the clubs. But then there was a time in my life where like I hit rock bottom. I had a really tough period, and a lot of those people, you know, turned their back on me, kind of. And I was like, you know what? None of these people are my friends. Half of these people I don't know. So I just went through and deleted all kind of people, and have added back, you know, people that I meet in person, and that's like a Facebook specifically on that. You know,
to me, I compared it to being dipped in acid. Take yourself and dip yourself in acid. When you pull yourself out, whoever's still attached, to you,
whatever's left,
those are real.
Yeah.
The rest of it were just superficial trash, or they had a motive, or you were a purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And now, you know, it's in my situation, it's become really apparent to me because I have people that come out of the woodwork because they want to come see me. I'm like, no. You never came to see me 5 years ago when I was healthy.
Yeah.
Because you feel in your conscience, you want to be able to tell everybody, yeah, I went out and saw Rich at the house. No, man, I'm not going to glorify this for your sake. It's real for me.
Yeah.
I'm very selective who comes to the house. I'm very cautious for many reasons because this body is a shell of itself. Luckily, the mouth still works. The mind still works. But at the end of the day, the shock level for people now to see me as a terminal patient, and you want to come see me, you can barely talk to me on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, so I've learned over time as this disease progresses that you start looking at people in a different light. You know, you're like, what is your motive? What are you hoping to achieve or gain by coming to see me? Just the ability to brag to somebody who went and saw me?
Yeah.
And that's petty to me. But that's what society is. And I see it all over the place, you know. It blows my mind how bad it's gotten, you know. And I don't want to sound negative or doomsday or anything like that, but I mean, some of these people that reach out to me, I haven't talked to in 25 years. And they'll see, hey, it's his birthday. I want to come see you. For what?
Yeah.
For what? And then there's something else, and I know I'm rambling a lot, but I had to learn something that was really hard. I still don't wrap my mind around it. Having a terminal illness. Somebody comes out to me and says, "Hey man, how you doing? What's wrong? I know something's wrong with you."
Yeah.
I have to think about their mental psyche, how I'm going to affect the rest of their thought process for the day, for the week, and for the month afterwards.
Yeah.
Like some people are like insistent, and I know they're not strong enough to process this information. And I have to think about it. I talk to my medical staff and the social workers and the pastor. That she comes over and sees me and just see how I'm doing. And when I told them that, they were like, "Well, that's a very unique situation. So how do you deal with it?" I said, "I have to think who I'm talking to. I ask them, where are you right now? Their environment they're in. If they're at their office and they suddenly have a complete meltdown in their little cubicle,
Yeah.
their little gopher hole, their boss to be like, "What's your problem?" There's no compassion or for them at all. But I've had to learn that I just can't tell people, "Hey, I have a terminal illness. I don't know how long I'm going to live."
Right.
Because I can't do that, because some people break down hard, start crying, losing their minds. Other people are like, I can hear it. And I've learned, I'm like, look, give yourself some time. Call me back in a week.
Yeah.
Process this before you speak, because you might say things you mean, but then at the same time, you're saying it because you're in so much duress or you're sad. So I'm like, just think about it. Call
Yeah.
me when you're ready. And for some people that works better, it just is such a strange time we live in right now, and to deal with it like this, it's just crazy. It's crazy across the board.
Yeah.
I had people to shop at the office when I was still working. "Oh, I'm not feeling good," or whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me that? I'm at a show in a wheelchair. I can barely push the buttons, and I'm doing my job. Where are you at again? "Oh, I'm having problems with kids," or "my stomach hurts," or "I've got a headache." It's made me a little more numb to other people's issues, and I shouldn't be like that. But at the same time, I'm like, sorry, I don't buy it. I don't.
Yeah.
You're not me. You're not. We're not connecting here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's a definitely the kind of perspective that like not everybody, definitely a majority of people don't get. Like to be terminally ill, I mean, is got to be just like a.
Well, you walk in with the best feeling that there's a possible way to get healed or a drug that'll help cure you, and a man walks in a white coat, sits down, takes a deep breath, and tells you you're terminally ill.
Yeah.
That impact is like getting hit by a truck. It takes, and he has the same situation, or she, whoever the medical personnel is. They have to sit there and assess you as a human. How strong are you? What is your mental status when you come through the door? My doctor used to laugh. He said, "I always knew when you were here because you were in the lobby raising hell. It's there. There's nothing I can do about it. Why would I want to be sit around the house and just be mopey and somber and depressed when there's so many things that I feel I can be productive with? There's so many years of knowledge in my brain that still works, and that's what I can't convey to these younger kids that work, at different companies. They'll call me I'll answer any question I can answer. I'm a walking information. My generation that's in concert lighting, we're all in our late 50s and 60s. A lot of them quit. I never in my wildest dreams, first of all, thought I'd live past 30.
Yeah.
True story. And I never thought I would ever be called an OG. That blew me away. The first time I was told that, I was like, where the hell is that coming from? And they're like, well, you're the oldest person here. And I started looking around and going, holy shit, I am.
It's true.
I know, but it's mind-boggling, know. And at that time, when I was healthy, I was so productive, and I was still operating at a very high level. You're talking about you're already in your 50s, and you're still doing stuff that 20-year-olds can't wrap their minds around, or they want to go home to mommy because they worked too many hours and their hands hurt. Right. And you're out there humping it and doing. It changed the dynamics of my thought process considerably when I was told that.
Yeah.
Because I still tried to work, as you know. I kept going to the office and going. There was no way I should have been driving in some of them circumstances. Are you kidding me? I had could barely use my legs. Still drove that out of office 2 hours each way every day for as long as I physically could.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear excuses.
Well, I mean, like looking back on it now, I remember the first time, like after COVID, like whenever we started, like going to the office again, you like showed up and you had a cane, I think.
Yeah, I was on it because I had broken my right leg on ice, and I was recovering from that.
Yeah.
That was the trigger for what I've learned about ALS is idle muscles they're easier to attack for the disease. Mm-hmm. As you've been through some pretty traumatic injuries and surgeries too, so you understand when you lay around, you atrophy really quick. And when that leg failed, I was on that cane, and I was recovering from the broken leg, but my left leg started dragging, and my surgeon said, "Hey man, what's going on here with your gait?" And I told him, I said, "I think I'm having a problem because through research they determined it could be potentially I was allergic to the surgical steel that they put in my body, because some people are. They go to the dentist and they have implants and suddenly they're really sick. Well, we went down this whole path. They did, biopsies, spinal taps, nerve tests, till finally the neurologist that I was using, he just pretty much gave up. And I got really blunt with him and straightforward. And I said, I was the test that you did not study for.
Yeah.
I said, I hit you like a freight train. You're young. You didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... And
you just let me live in this guesswork for 2 years. Oh, there's a chirp. There we go. And it's one of those things where your frustrations spill out, and it did. And his office staff, she found the neurologist that I went to, and he's a specialist, and it took him 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He said, I've diagnosed 2,300 patients with ALS.
Man. I'm
not gonna sugarcoat it, and I'm not gonna tell you how long you have.
Yeah.
Because people have a habit of, we as humans will live to the time we're given. If they tell you have 3 months to live, you're going to live 3 months.
Yeah.
And then your quality of life is going to deteriorate. You will not fight, and he never told me a time. He said, I'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So what I do with myself now is I set small goals. I set, I like to use people's birthdays. I've made it all the way. Dawn's birthday is the next one. That's in August. So I'm like, all right, I just fought through mine, and I've got 2 or 3 more months to fight through that. And then there's really nothing there, for me to reach out for, other than holidays, which are insanity anyway. So that's how I live my life now. You're seeing it. You look outside, I live on a lake. I'm peaceful.
Yeah.
But I don't go anywhere. I don't have any interaction with anybody. I don't know. This is what it's going to be. I'm okay with it. That's why I'm really glad that you finally were able to come out here, because I like company. I like people that I like, that I know are real. And Ross, you are. You've been a very straightforward person with me since day one when we met. And I've been the same with you.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, like, that's my favorite kind of, you are my people.
Yeah.
In that aspect.
It's the transparency of it. To be a real human is actually now in this day and age, people are either taken advantage of because you genuinely care. You genuinely want my voice to be heard, and here you are. Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah. We can sit here and talk for as long as you want. I'm good.
And I mean, there's like things that I want to ask you that, like, now that we're not like in the middle of some shit, like, God, yeah. I gotta go fix this here or there,
or an idiot that doesn't always do his job tries to blame you because the audio wouldn't come on. We had that at that festival. The audio guy everybody was muted. That was his fault. That wasn't yours, but who took the beating for that?
I was already backstage having a celebratory cigarette, like, man, I finally got a break today. And then they can't hear the lady's mic. And I was like, what? Nope. And I walked all the way to front of house and was like, oh, here you go.
And that dude was trying to throw Ross under the bus. And I was like, hell no, that's you, man. He got pissed off at me. He goes, you better know what you're doing. I said, bro, I didn't miss the mute on the intro song. You did.
Yeah.
That didn't go well.
And I mean, it's that kind of stuff. And just being able to roll with it. After the show, he like shook my hand and thanked me. And like,
It turned out to be a great show. They videotaped the whole show. Yeah. You can go watch it. I don't even know who's carrying it or where you can see it. But it was a great show, man. Well, she went out there and killed it.
It's that kind of stuff, and being able to deliver that to people is kind of really what I wanted to talk to you about. Like I said, now that we have time, it's like, I'm an audio guy. I'm a music person. I fix amps. I'm on the audio vibration side of but the electronics, I get that part. But for me, like, light is such it's a wavelength thing. It's just like sound and the way that, you know, it behaves in a lot of ways.
Yes, it affects emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
Sound does too. But, you know, I have a saying to all my audio guys, and I love all of you, that, you know, people come to see a concert. If they want to hear it, they'll go buy the CD or download it. It sounds better anyway.
Yeah.
And then the response is this. After 30 years, I've learned they respond by saying, well, they don't leave there humming it. I'm like, nope, but they get in their car and they hit play. And guess what? It sounds better than the show.
Yep.
I said, but when they go to see a show, there's a reason they're there. They want to see the person on stage. But from a lighting perspective, you can make or break a band anytime you want.
Yeah.
Same thing with audio. You have the power. We always have jokes in our industry about the suck button on the console.
Yeah, turn it down.
Mine is just wrong color.
Right.
Wrong. Oh, dark? Oh, you wanted to strobe, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and well, since you're asking, I have a tool that I use. I've been using it now for 30 years. They would hand me a set list, the artist or their management. I'd say, hey, do me a favor. Take this back, because I'm assuming they wrote these songs. Of course, they get offended when you ask that, because a lot of them don't write their own music.
Right.
What emotion did you feel when you wrote this song, when you recorded it? Write a color next to it.
Yeah.
Okay? I've done that for over 30 years. In 30 years, I've gotten 3 back filled out with the right colors. And it's a way for me, and I tell this to all young LDs, along lighting people that profess to be in the industry. The artist will always blame you if something is wrong if they're having a bad night.
Oh, yeah.
You're the fall guy. But a list like what I just said, their set list, with them making them do colors. Yes, it's a process, and they're going to say that they don't have time. That's a crock of crap, because they cannot blame you for a failure.
That's right.
It's an insurance policy for yourself to protect you as the lighting person, because at the end of the day, they're going to come at you. And I've had some come at me really aggressively. I've had some very emotional, because I hit what they were looking for. I've had a country artist that I was programming to do a totally different band, and it made them mad. And then I did the show, and they come back and ask me if I want a job. I'm like, an hour ago, you were ready to fire me, and I didn't even work for you.
It's a full spectrum of emotions for sure, you know.
And lighting is that way, and, you know, and it's a you're throwing darts, because I don't know what you're feeling. I look at the title of the song, it might give me a totally different perspective of what you wrote the song for.
Yeah.
So I can overdrive what my emotions are feeling and then fail completely to what the artist is doing. You know, there's other tools out there. There's YouTube that people don't utilize.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know an artist, go look them up.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's real simple. They're all over. That's what this technology is for. And, you know, even what we're on right here.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't do it. And they go in blind, and then they get chastised by the artist because the beams are flying in the audience, or they brought the wrong fixtures. Take the time to do your work. Put the work in at the shop. It makes your life easier at the show. 80% of the work is done in the shop. 20% is on show.
Yeah.
And that's for all facets of what we do. But
Absolutely,
lighting is always under the gun, because it's so visual. You know, if you miss a cue, or that you're supposed to go black, people turn around and look. Or if they hear feedback, they turn around and look. They don't even know what they're turning around to look at, or who. They're just, something's wrong.
Right.
Something's wrong. And, you know, lighting is an emotional tool, as is audio. But, you know, after all these years, I try to tell young LDs, hey, you really don't know what you're doing until you truly have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I've had guys tell me, well, the console says it can't do that. And I said, well, you're going to fail, because you've given up your creativity to an animated object that's being run by a processor that's been programmed by somebody in a room that probably has never done a show in their life.
Right. These are finite problems with finite solutions.
Yes.
And like, the solution is out there. It's not what you think it is, and I'm sorry, but it is possible to solve the problem.
You know, there's old school ways of doing things, you know, and they're like, well, it's old school. Well, we had to do things differently to get end results. You know, when you look at Pink Floyd Pulse, Pulse, I recommend anybody that professes to like Pink Floyd or lighting to go watch the video. Well, they didn't have all the effects we have now.
Yeah.
They did it all. It was all built in what we call chases. the effects were mirrored. There was different things we had to do. We didn't have all this shit that these boards have now. So what it did was it made you become better or fail. You could see who's good and who's not. Nowadays, a kid volunteers at a church. He gets on a console and professes to be an LD. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand any other genre than praise and worship.
Right.
He's taking that limited knowledge with the knowledge of the console, which gives them a false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
And they go out there and say, I'm an LD. And then they get out there and you're like a deer in headlights because they have no idea how to build the rig, how much power it's using, how much truss weight can you have, how much do the fixtures weigh. They don't know any of that.
And it's the same in audio too. People
Yes.
come out of, we do the same praise and worship every week. And it's great.
Yep.
It's good experience, good to cut your teeth. But then they show up and they're like, yeah, well, I'm an audio guy. Like, are you though?
Yeah.
Because today we have all different mics, so the EQs are going to be a little different.
Yep.
We have a different console that you've never seen before. We've
Yep.
got a different PA than y'all have over there, and everything's different. And we have to build it. And by the way, some of the cables that we needed got left at the shop.
Yes.
And now we have to figure out how to make it work today.
And
Are
they
you
don't
still,
have that.
You still an audio guy,
Yeah.
or are you going to cry?
Yeah, you're going to cry. They're going to cry.
Yeah.
They're going to say your company sucks. They're going to belittle everybody around them because, again, we're in a time of no one wants the accountability of it. It's always someone else's fault. And that's not true. You need to look in the mirror at yourselves out there and go, you know what? I do need to put the time in. Like I said about myself, when I started the program by accident, purely. I always compare it to the Matrix when she wants to learn how to fly a Bell helicopter and they send her the info. Well, it took me a few years to get that much info that long. And I realized, wait a minute, there's so much more to this industry that I'm completely naive to.
Yeah.
But I had the passion for it, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn it. So I stopped programming. I became a tech. I went to be just set the show, build the show, rigging, high rigging. Thank you, buddy, over there. Phoenix, you rock. All this stuff that we do that people take for granted to make a show, these kids don't know. Well, I don't need to know that. You do need to know that. Because I've been in situations, man, now realize, world, we use moving lights. I can put them anywhere I want. If the truss can't hang in the exact point that your little AutoCAD drawing says it is, the lights move. If the rigger tells you and you don't understand what he's telling you, the difference between a bridle and a dead hang, that's not his fault. That's yours.
Yeah.
So if I can do a dead hang and speed up the load in, but I move the truss 3 feet forward, all you have to do in your moving lights is adjust the position.
Right, which you should be doing anyway, even if everything is
theoretically. But
right.
Again, a lot of them are frozen. They know how to execute the cues, and that's what they know. And they're oblivious to new technology, or they know the newest technology, but they don't even know how to use it. Well, the board doesn't do that. So I didn't know the light did that. Well, because you're an idiot and you chose to not learn.
And complacency is the ultimate
Demise.
killer, dude. It is the worst. Because, my thing is, people always ask me questions, and it fucks with my head a lot of times, because, I'm not that old. I know a lot of stuff, and I know how to think through a situation, but I get calls a lot of times. And sometimes I'll tell people these 3 words, I don't know. And, it puts fear in their heart, and it's like, man, I don't know. But, if I were you, I would try this or this. Or, look up the manual online and start
there
reading.
you went. You have the phone. You were looking at TikTok or whatever a minute ago. Why don't you go look at how to run the board?
That's on there, too. They have that out there.
Yeah.
And you might have to read a lot.
Yeah, a whole lot. And you might not understand it, but that one line, you're going to go, oh. See, again, going back to what I said, as far as age, experience is also age in our industry. We're not an industry that's driven by college degrees. You have a degree from where? I don't care.
Yeah, I got 2 degrees and haven't used them one single day.
There you have it. And you probably don't refer back to them at all in this industry. But you're, like you said yourself, you might not be old, but you have old knowledge. When COVID came in, a lot of guys my generation either just retired, got sick and died, or they realize that their time has come. The problem is now going forward in the industry, we're going to be devoid of that older knowledge. I call it transition knowledge, because I've seen the advent of LEDs when they were tiny little specks on a board. I've seen giant moving lights, the massive output. I've seen truss configurations that were done uniquely because you were forced to. Meaning, like right now, we have a truss company out there. I guess I can say Tyler Truss. They build the bulk of their sales is straight lines. And I beg you to go out there and find me 10 rigs that are using circles or unique shapes. They're not. The same thing happened when James Thomas Trussing came out with the double hung for the Jackson 5, which was square tube. Yes, I've worked with it. I'm that old. And I realized, wait a minute, all the rigs are straight lines. And then you started seeing in the 70s, in the early 80s, they were using the truss in shapes. Even though they were straight lines, they got more creative. And the technology was par cans, par 64 lamps, burn the hair off your arm and your flesh in 5 seconds.
Hot.
Lots of scars on these arms. But at the end of the day, the industry is we're falling back into such a giant complacent bubble. We're losing creativity. You know, that we used to do, there was a lot of articulating stuff, which means moving. You had different reveals, it's called. There was a whole different way of thinking because we didn't have the technology they have now. Now you can take a video wall, throw it up there, and create almost a four-dimensional setup of an image. You can put us in a forest and the lights work around it. That's running its course because we're overdriving the video. You're basically sitting and watching a video with people standing in front of it. So they're having to reinvent that as we go along. And guys like me, I've seen all these transitions. I've seen all these changes. I see the industry, what it's doing, and I realize there's not going to be anybody to rope these people in their 20s and 30s because there's nobody left.
Yeah.
You know, because the progression and the advancement of technology has moved so rapidly that it's outrun some people. They don't want to deal with it. They don't.
A lot of people with experience just don't want to mess with it just because, and the other side of it, you know, you get the young kids who are hungry and really want to do it that, like, they've only been trained on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the way that the industry is, like, I'm just going to be honest, they're a little too soft for it. There are a lot of people that are too soft for the production industry, and
100%.
It's dragging the whole thing down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it could meet in the middle in some places. They could get a little bit harder. The industry could do itself some favors.
I don't know if the industry has the ability to change. The difference in our industry is if you tell me, I have a saying I use, the dumbest question is the one not asked.
Yeah.
If you tell me you can do it, then go do it.
Yeah.
If I have to come behind you 15 minutes later and it's an absolute train wreck, people can die in our industry really quickly. I've seen fingers cut off. I've seen truss stuff fall out. Hell, I've been on truss when it's fallen. You know, so I get it. Where we have to coddle them a little bit. But when I have people at my show, and I'll never forget, this kid was rolled up in his hoodie that was 12 sizes too big, that hadn't been washed in 6 years, and he was crying because he wanted his mommy.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah.
I got to go home. I have to see my mommy. I'm looking at him going, and you're on my show? Goodbye. You know, and I get it. You're going to get, these labor companies are going to get what they're going to get.
Right.
But it's infected the whole industry because this is a generation that's completely entitled. They want the best pay based on minimal knowledge. Yeah. And they're not multifaceted in any form or fashion.
Right, yeah. They're one trick pony. Like, I'll have people that'll tell me, like, hey, if you ever need a front of house guy to come and mix, let me know. And it's like, oh, really? Yeah, no, actually, we're good on that. We got plenty of guys that can do that. I need guys that can, like, build and troubleshoot an entire stage, an entire rig.
Be able to go back and look at an amp rack and see that something's wrong. You got a thermal amp, what's going on? Or it's, something else is going on.
And how to solve that, how to repatch it and not blow the speakers whenever you're doing that. You know,
I don't want you back there playing video games. I need you to figure out what's going on here, The term dimmer beach came from the dimmer racks. There was somebody back in the day, the trigger room, they actually did the breakers on them because the communication didn't exist from a console. Now I'm really dating myself. And dimmer beach, you just lay back in the beach and go, go, go. Breaker 20, breaker 40, breaker 60, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And it was a different animal, in the advent of technology. When it came on board, you had the old pin matrix consoles. I'm dating myself here for all of you out there. You're not even going to know what the hell I'm talking about. And moving lights came in. You had lights that were using binary. Can you imagine these kids not trying to figure out binary?
A bunch of dip switches.
Dip switches, yes. Yeah. And they have to add up to the number so that the console could talk to the light. They go home, cry to their mommy. I mean, there's got to be an app for it. Well, now there is, I'm sure, but where's the binary lights now? They're gone.
Well, and a lot of it now, the technology, I always joke about this, like when my card doesn't process at the store when I'm just trying to pay for something because for whatever reason I have to use that and not money. So, it's like technology is supposed to make our lives easier, right? And it doesn't a lot of times because we have, in our industry, there's so much new technology.
Yeah, and it's a constant stream of technology.
Yeah, but it's the practical applications, the rigging.
Yeah, see,
that
some things
hasn't
like
ever
that,
changed.
that won't.
That's always the
It
same.
won't. It won't. I mean, they've improved safety immensely, but
right.
the
But something
process is
still weighs
involved.
that much, and that's as much as you can hang from that point.
That's right.
And
It's the only part of the industry where you use geometry or trigonometry. People laugh. When do you ever use trig? When you're doing rigging.
Yeah.
They look at you like, why? Well, you have to construct a bridle. You need to know your wrap from your beam, your cable on either side, whatever your term people call wire rope, whatever the hell you want to call it. But at the end of the day, it has to hit the certain spot. You need to be smart enough to figure out how many pieces of deck chain, how many loops on this chain am I going to use to make this land safely exactly where I need it to go.
Yeah.
And you're as people like ourselves that aren't multifaceted with this, it's going away.
Yeah.
I remember when I started, and I know this is going to hurt some feelings at the company I used to work for, that I had to talk to all the riggers to tell them where to hang the points, because the audio guys at the time were not rigging qualified in any form or fashion. To the point when we got the first line array in, I had to go out and learn every bit of weight, every pin, every connector pin, the rigging weight of the rigging hardware, every single part of it, so I knew what I was dealing with when I was talking to the riggers. And I remember one of the old school riggers asked me one day, he said, why in the hell are you doing all of this for everybody? I said, because I'm the only one that knows how.
Yeah.
And guys like that are going to go away. And when we go away, it's going to you make every little department have to have somebody that knows that element, but you're not going to have individuals like myself or other people out there. And I'm not saying I know it all by no means, but I know enough of all the facets to get me involved in every element. And if I don't know, I will ask, because that's going to be the key, is getting the job done at the end of the day anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I've thought about starting like some sort of company that has like that's an educational portion, that people can come in soft and you don't get paid that much. You come in green and new and you don't know anything, and we can start teaching you today, and we'll show you this first piece.
Thing I would do, and I'm going to interrupt you, is get chain oil and rub it on their hands.
Yeah.
See how they react. Some people don't do well with that. And back when I started, it was a carcinogenic. Now they're like, oh, you can get cancer from that. I was like, oh, that's good to know 30 years later. They had
wiping
to change.
the sweat off your face.
Oh, you look tribal. That's what I mean by tribal. You got grease streaks.
Grease paint.
And let them get their hands dirty for a little while, and you just watch people how they act.
Yeah.
Because the germaphobes will come out because they've been raised that way, or the neat freaks, and they're out there. Like I said, I had one that worked for me. He would stay white in white clothes the whole show, never get dirty. But they're neat freaks, and I call them that because they are still engaged in the project, but they manage to stay clean somehow. I don't know. But you can tell a person, especially with chain motors, if they don't like grease and dirt on their hands, they're not that. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, chain grease is this really viscous, just like sticky oil.
Yeah.
And it works great. Chains don't bind up whenever they're...
Exactly. It keeps the clutches and brakes properly lubricated. Too much oil is not good. You want it tacky.
Yeah.
And it's a very unique sensation. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it once it's on you, it's got a very distinctive odor. Like if you're or ever around the rear end of a car, when you go into a garage, that real pungent, oily smell.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So not only are you getting the sensory overload of the odor of it, you're getting the sensation, I can't get this off my hands.
Yeah, it's stuck to you.
And your hands will stay stained. There's no getting it off. Or you could use that green soap that takes 2 layers of skin off.
Yeah.
That'll get it off. But then 15 minutes later, I'm going to ask you to grab more chain, especially if I keep seeing you go to the bathroom and wash your hands. I'm that guy.
Dry and cracked at the end of
whatever.
the day. Yeah.
But that's a great idea. But then you have to deal with the people that say, well, there's no credibility to it. Like these schools out there who I don't want to name because I don't want to insult people, but really I don't give a shit. But like Full Sail and these other schools,
right, yeah.
A lot of these guys come out and they were taught one element and
They're the guys that want to run front of house.
Just
if they ever need somebody to run front of house, I'm your guy.
They do not understand, how do you get the signal from the console to the amps?
Yeah.
Well, you got to run a cable. What kind of cable? No, I don't know.
That's up to you.
Yeah. And how many years did you just go to school for?
Right.
That's the only problem you run into it is,
yeah.
I see a lot of companies that have tried to offer rigging classes or trust safety in general. I wanted to do at our shop. I wanted to take a mannequin that they use to shoot at so you can see the damage that a bullet does to the body and drop a piece of truss with a light on it.
Yeah.
And let them visually see what incompetence can kill and how quickly it can kill. Because when you see a human scale head and shoulders and chest explode, well, it's going to do that to a human body. And that's the point I try to make. We're a visually driven society. So if I just tell you, this is what it's going to do to you, sure.
A shackle drop from 65 feet to the dome. Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
I have a great story about, I was working in a theater in Houston. Oh, it was in 1996 because I smoke a pipe, my pipes. As a matter of fact, it's this pipe that's been fixed twice. It's dated. And I had just smoked the first bowl out of this pipe, and I set it down on the edge of the stage like this, and I was plugging in the power distro for the lights, and one of the riggers kicked a bolt that was sitting on the truss from construction. And that bolt fell and landed right here. And I don't know if you can see it on the phone, but it cracked the pipe right here in half.
Damn.
Landed right here. That was only from 30 feet.
Yeah.
And it was only a little bolt. Imagine a shackle, because I've seen those come screaming. I've seen chains coming out of the ceiling. That will kill you.
Yes.
These kids now, I can mix.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect there. You mind?
Oh, yeah, not at all. Go for it. This is your castle, man.
No, I just like the man that gave me the opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
What else would you like to talk about? I'm sure there's plenty we can ramble about.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm trying to get a better understanding of preparing a show lighting wise. If the stuff, you remember I went to Bonnaroo and I sent you those videos of that immersive kind of there's video wall on the stage with the whole lighting rig.
Yep.
And then there are these delay towers, but not delay towers, a video wall with lighting.
They're immersive. They're designed to wrap around you.
And I mean, I'm 300 feet back off the stage, and I'm still in it. I don't have to be in the front row. You have
actually the best seat in the house, and that's a lot of the issues. People think, I'm going front row. You're an idiot.
Right, yeah.
Look where the front of house position is. Your row 20 and back is your best seats, people. Yeah. Little advice.
Yeah.
Being front row, you're missing the show. It's going completely over your head.
And if you have to go to the bathroom,
good luck.
Yeah. Because everybody's moving forward toward the stage, and you're going to be the fish swimming upstream.
When you're doing for lighting, and this is something that is very valuable, again, to young LDs. If you're doing, for example, Boys to Men, you look at the lighting plot. What is the basis of Boys to Men? An a cappella group with music.
Right.
It's about them. And their voices carry them. They're talented. It's a different style. So when you look at the band as a designer, I don't need a bunch of real sharp beams flying around. I don't need them real hot. I don't need to cut through, because at the end of the day, the artist is what people are there to sing, right?
Right, yeah.
So you have to be able to decide which lighting fixture, and we're running into this heavily now at our former place of employment, because I'm literally going to help them, and this goes out to anybody that's paying attention if you're trying to profess to go into sales. Understand your artist first. If your house lighting tech guys, whether it's your head LD, that's the head designer of it, whoever is sitting there looking at this plot, they have to have knowledge of the artist.
Yeah.
I think it's mandatory that they have to have a background of these individuals, because, again, I'm not doing Rage Against the Machine with 60 Sharpies burning because that's what they want. No, I'm doing Boys to Men or anybody else in that range, and I want big, soft gobo looks, coming through the band. And then you have to look at, it's not racism here, it's skin color.
Yeah.
Some artists are so dark or they have such a unique, maybe they're covered in tattoos. You have to look at what you're shining on this person. And again, the technology is always there for anybody to look at the person. And then design around that. Stay away from things that make them disappear. You know, when we do Mardi Gras, I'm real hardcore about insisting on seeing costume colors.
Yeah.
Because they spend thousands of hours and dollars building these costumes. I don't want the lighting, if they're coming out in a magenta look with you know, rhinestones all over it, I don't want to light the stage in a magenta because I'll lose that artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people and a lot of these LDs do not understand exactly what I just did, what I just said. So I'm going to contrast it with maybe a lighter green or a light aqua. I want that magenta costume to pop.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with an artist that's on stage. If you know that they're going to come out in raggedy clothes and you know their style of music, you know, we all have different tastes in music, but you have to use what they're doing to convey that energy off the stage. If you don't, you're fighting them. You're defeating the purpose.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing I would do if I was doing a Pantera show would come out with a magenta look with some Congo.
Right.
It wouldn't fit. Now maybe, you know, Heaven's Gate or Cemetery
Right. A moment,
whatever. Yeah.
A moment you can have one look, but like the whole show is not going to be there. Yeah.
And I see some of these EDM shows are so reliant on the lighting technology and the video driving it that the DJ, the artist, the DJ is standing in this monstrosity of lighting. To me, it's because they have to have it.
Yeah.
The visual stimulation is what's driving these people. So, okay, that's a different way of designing lighting. So now I know I can use high energy colors, rapid movements, tight beams, lots of strobing, you know, and then you can have subtle points and then build right back into it again.
Yeah.
You know, and there's another tool that I use that I'm not afraid to use and it freaks people out is some bands have what I call dead drops. It just drops. The music stops for a second and then kicks back in. You have to be fearless and go black with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is the most powerful tool out there, but LDs are scared to death to do that because the band, if the band doesn't know what you're doing, they're going to look, and the last thing you want is somebody to start looking around. That means you're not connected. So if you're going to do your homework and you're going to do a band, then tell the band that that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It takes 5 seconds. Hey, guys, I'm going to let you know in this particular song, when you go dark, when you go silent, I'm going black. I'm doing it on purpose, and I'm going to come back in with a big look. And they'll go, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Well, and I see a lot of, especially the EDM stuff, like I said, I don't, you know, I'm not as big of an EDM fan as I guess I used to be. I'm not as big of a metal fan as I used to be. Like, I listen to so many different things. I kind of come back to them from time to time, but I love to go to any, I don't care what it is. If it's a live performance that's worth selling tickets for, I want to go and see the lights, and I want to hear the mix, and I want to, like, experience the whole performance as a one cohesive piece of art. You know?
It's a living entity.
Yeah.
If it all comes together correctly, you get a good feeling for it. If you're there and the sound, like if you go to an extreme show or something in the high end, Nuno wants the high end ripping your head off, or an Iron Maiden show, you're doing this because you're getting ripped apart, you know, and it takes away from the beauty of what the stage is giving you, the energy the band's giving you, because either the audio engineer has been told to do that, or he himself has an issue and won't admit it. He's been with him 30 years and his high end's burned.
Right, he can't hear that it's there and needs to be taken down.
And doesn't get it, you know. And I've worked with a lot of guys, man. I love them. My audio friends, I love all you fuckers. But some of you really need to back down off whatever the hell you're doing, because sometimes that high end is just brutal. And, you know, and now with the advent of all the sub-cycle stuff that we're capable of doing with some of these, you know, these PAs, you know, without
bending
naming brands,
the air.
Just literally, you know, they used to call it the brown note. I can run a brown note. You guys can run a brown note for 40 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And never miss a beat in the music. People wouldn't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, I've done some artists the first time. I remember Skrillex. I got hit so hard when I went home, I felt like I got my ass kicked. My rib cage was sore. Well, that's what they want.
Yeah.
But do they?
Yeah.
You know, do they? Yeah, I get what you're conveying. You're throwing those subcycles out there because it builds into your song and what you're calling music. But at the end of the day, I didn't need earthquake testing done on my ass. I'm beat to shit.
Just 9 hertz, just weighing on
just
you,
laying there, and they can play over the top of it. With the advent of infra subs and everything else that's going on, people don't even have a clue.
Yeah,
they stick their head right in there and they wonder why they got a migraine for 4 weeks. Well, you blew your eardrums and you probably did some damage to your brains, the cavity that your brain's in, because you're slamming your brain around at such an extreme level. It's dangerous. It's straight up.
Well, I mean, for prolonged periods of time, especially, that's the part that really weighs on you. I like to be able to utilize stuff like that in moments. And there's artists that I've seen like Odessa. They're, I guess, electronic, but they feature, live drums. They feature live vocals and stuff. Their show is very dynamic. There's really, really quiet moments and really, really big moments. And then they have those kind of terror infra sub moments, and it moves all over. But
I mean, you're like Tool.
Yeah, I was
Rammstein.
Tool was the next one I was going to say. Yeah,
will beat you into the ground. But then they have moments of melodic. You're like, well,
it's beautiful and colorful and just.
And all of a sudden, line rockets are flying over your head and shit blowing up. You're like, what? It's a sensory overload. I mean, Pink Floyd pushed that. Boston pushed that.
Yeah.
Rush pushed it. Got to give props out there to Rush.
Yeah.
The band Triumph was all about lighting too. People underrate. That's the most underrated band you ever talk about. Triumph came out with massive lighting rigs. I mean, you'd feel the heat, but it's a tool. It's part of the tool.
Yeah.
When I was on tour with Selena, I was with Selena. I had a promoter come up to us, and there was a general admission, which I found insane, and there was probably 40,000 people.
Damn.
And they were packing. They were starting to crush these kids in the front. And the promoter came up and he said, "Is there anything you guys can do to back these people up?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, what are we doing?" And he explained to me that there was children, because these parents didn't think it through, because most people don't. They were getting crushed into the metal barricade, and it was too tight to pull them over the barricade to save them. So they couldn't breathe. They were suffocating. There was big problems. Okay. It was hot outside. So I told the promoter, "Look, I can give you flashes. I'm going to give you 10 seconds at a time, because they're going to adapt to it, that you can grab these kids. If you can give me anything." And I took all the lights, and I pointed them right down at the front of the stage. It was during the day. They weren't even on, so people had no idea what was coming. And when I flash them lights, people's reaction is what? When you see a bright light, you back up.
Right.
And that backing up was enough of a tool and time to you see just pulling 40, 50 kids over the barrel. I'm like, what? You do it again. I let them recover for a second. I do it. They'd all back up. And we managed to get over 100 kids over that barricade and young adults. But as you said earlier, lighting is a powerful tool, as is audio. You could have done the same thing with audio, just made it, a unique sound. But the problem is the way you're configured. Well, back then, everything would fire over the first 30 rows anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It was a different animal. We were using, HLA, JBL HLAs, or we were using Turbo TMS3s back in those days.
Big loaded horns that just,
Yeah, just tanks, just wreak havoc on people.
Yeah.
But now, lighting, it is a very powerful tool. And I know people that have seen my shows that show up, like if I do a hunger show or whatever band I'm doing, and they got sunglasses clipped on their shirt.
Yeah.
They know it's coming. They know it's coming. Yeah. I mean, and I've been told by really big artists, I'm not even going to name their names because I don't even want to give them the credit of it, but that I use too many strobes. I was like, I'm talking to this tour manager. This is a big rock and roll band, and everybody in the world, it's Kiss. And they told me, they said, "Hey, man, you're using too many strobes." I said, "Man, I have 8 strobes. You got 60 on your rig." "No, you're using them too much." I said, "Well, it was nice touring with you."
Yeah.
And we were done. We left it. We were out. Too much. That little thing taught me a lot. I was like, okay, you can use them too much, but if the music dictates that, I don't mean to go to a speed metal show and try to keep up with the drummer. That's not what I'm talking about. Pick your times, pick your places, and pick your colors, because all of it has effects. I get real tired of looking at these guys on these computers that are all pre-programmed, lights are flying all over, just changing random color. It's just, to me, it's fucking chaos.
Clown vomit.
Yes. Yeah, I went to an Easter egg hunt and threw up all over the ground. And I got it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Just straight up like it.
Yeah.
Got a fucking multicolored balloon with a cigarette in his hand going, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, that was not awesome. That was a shit show. That was an absolute shit show.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, having
I can't even move that. You did good there.
it's solid. It's holding on you.
As much as I can hold it, shit. My arm's not like a 4-year-old at this point, but whatever.
Well, they're breaking in pretty well. Still
Yeah,
have to
you know,
drag 'em on the
it's
concrete.
our industry has really gone in all kinds of screwy directions. Do I foresee a positive thing? I see the technology is becoming more. The manufacturers are starting to listen to the individuals.
Right.
The world has gone to waterproof lights, which we were way ahead of the curve on that. Deep South Productions had the largest inventory of waterproof lights in the United States. We started buying them when we went through a horrible. We were doing Kid Rock in Gulfport, Mississippi, at a festival, and we had this really big roof, and we had all these non-waterproof lights out there. And this guy we were right by the Coast Guard station. This dude runs up on stage in full dress. He just came from a meeting. And I don't even want to use, I can. I'm on a podcast. He said, you need to get the fuck off this stage. And we're looking at him like, where are we going to go? He said, you got 8 minutes. You're getting ready to get hit with 80-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, shit.
We're right on the ocean. The water had pushed up behind the stage. I remember Marvin standing over his ankles by the power distros and the amp racks because he just knew it was over. It was all salt water.
Yeah.
And it didn't. Luckily, it receded, but they had to cut the rain walls. We lost over $50,000 in lights, and at that moment, I looked at Marvin and I said, "It's time."
Yeah.
And that's when we started in on buying IP lights. They call it IPs for waterproof, IP65, IP66, and the industry now as a whole has completely shifted. And it's because people are tired of buying two different types of lights.
Right.
There's no point in that. You're wasting your time. For anybody new listening to this, do not ever go out and buy a non-waterproof fixture, because not only is it waterproof, it's dust-proof, it's confetti-proof, it's cryo-proof, it's the oils of the machines proof. It goes far beyond just water. So when you're making that big investment, all of you out there, you need to realize, hey, this guy's right. If we're going to buy a bunch of washes, we better buy some that can go in the rain, get splashed with grease. If you're working with guar, then you have to do the root beer. I mean, whatever you're dealing with, whoever's out there, you're gonna get shit on your stuff. Or if you're doing old Marilyn Manson stuff and they're spitting all over your gear, to be able to hose your gear off is really a cool thing. You know?
All the Fago at the ICP show, you know.
It's true though, man. I mean,
dude, even like PA speakers and monitors and stuff now, they're all starting to be IP65 rated. And I mean, especially for Deep South Productions that does a bunch of stuff in the South on the Gulf Coast. It doesn't only rain there; it like fucking rains, like fire hose from the sky kind of rain.
I watched 311's drums blow off the stage. Literally, they had it all set. It came out of nowhere. My rig was still running. The production manager, I can't remember his name. They had non-waterproof fixtures, and the company told him that they were waterproof. And the LD was inside with the L2 eating a steak. They did, the windows at the venue you can't see out. They didn't even know the storm had come in. And I'm on stage videotaping all the SGM lights were still running, and this guy's losing his shit. When I tell you we wrapped his lights in a big doobie on the back of the stage in Dubitine. Literally looked like a giant joint floating on a truss to try to help save his shit. And then when the LD comes out, his lighting console's utterly destroyed. The whole tent blew away. The covers blew. I mean, it was gone. When I tell you total, it was totaled. And he made the LD. He said, all right, show me our waterproof lights. And they turned on the rig after a few more blew up because there was water sitting in them. They ended up with like 2 of one brand and 3. I'm not going to say brands. I'll hold that back, but I don't want to embarrass people. But out of the 20 lights, I think it was 24 lights, 5 worked.
Nice.
And he said, Rich, turn your shit on. I hit locate, they all spun in, pointed down in white, and all running. They ran through the whole storm. And he said, that's what the fuck a waterproof light is. What is this shit? Yeah. And they ended up, the show was all fucked up. They tried to use the rig. It was an ugly situation, but,
man.
I've gone through so much, that's why we did what we did. But the industry is now listening to companies and saying, hey, we like this light. Please produce it in a waterproof version.
Yeah.
And to me, you're a fool if you don't buy them. I mean, I don't care what you say. If you're going to go out, and I've been seeing a lot of shows recently that really concern me because there's this sense of security when you're on a big roof that's got sidewalls. They're bringing out this gear and their floor packages are massive, and none of it can take a rainstorm. Obviously, they've never been through a rainstorm, or the company's got good insurance and are willing to throw them in the trash.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say companies or brands or anything like that because I see failures across the board that really terrify me. I'm looking at, magazines. I'm like, who the fuck just took all those outside? Have they not been in the weather yet, ever?
Yeah.
Is there anybody on this crew that has a voice of reason to say, hey, I have a problem here. I've been through this. I've seen this. I've watched drums blow away. I've watched lights fly away.
The war stories, man.
And they don't, and again, that's people my age. We're losing that connection. It's gone, And Deep South Productions have went through, 2 hurricanes and a tornado, an F4 tornado.
Right.
Roof was ripped off the building, gone. Shit was blown a mile away in the plants. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
You know what lights? We turn on our lights, we get back. You go through all your waterproof lights. Some of them had just road rash from being thrown around in the case by a 200-mile-an-hour wind. I don't think they're built for that.
Right.
And turn them on and they work, and you're like, that was why we bought what we did.
Yeah.
And now the industry's coming around. All your bigger touring companies are swapping out, but you got different qualities of waterproof lights. The same thing with the PA. Even the motor companies got smart, so they put what they call weep holes, so the water will run through. That grease is not going anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not at all. As long as the electronics are protected, which in a motor, for the most part, they're in their own cavity in the butt of the motor. But
yeah,
they even make rain covers for them, and you rarely see people using that.
Yeah.
And it really blows my mind because. Are you saving $1 now, or are you in too much of a hurry to do it later?
And that's I mean, with any business, though, that's the thing that really blows my mind. And I mean, I never have claimed to be like a businessman or business-minded or whatever, I guess. But like, the people who are like, well, we'll just get the cheap ones for now.
That's a mistake.
And we'll start. And it's like, I don't know, man. Just save up a little while longer and get the good ones where you got the good ones forever,
And the market is flooded, inundated with knockoffs, or, You can't say that it's a Chinese light anymore because the Chinese are producing 60% of what's in the industry.
I was about to say they all are Chinese lights.
They are. There are a couple that actually profess to have 100% manufacturing in their own facility, whether it's in Denmark or Belgium or Italy. I'm not going to throw brands under the bus, but then there's other companies that are being made all in the same warehouse in China, and they all are on the same assembly line with their own modifications. And you have to wonder. I look back at SGM, and I bring them up the most because they were the forerunner of what I consider IP fixtures. And they had that industry monopolized in the palm of their hands, and they let it go.
Yeah.
Whether it was a patent expiration or just sheer laziness, I don't know. I know COVID, things got diluted heavily. People were scattered to the wind for their own safety and their own livelihoods. But I look now, and I'm seeing these companies and some of these fixtures, you're like, I don't know if that can take a heavy rain,
Right.
I mean, and that's why we're so careful on what we do and what they do now. For me, it's strictly consulting, but I'm still involved I have more time than the average person.
Yeah.
So I tend to research things a little deeper to see what's the most effective stuff. And even the way the materials are built, what are they making them out of? There's a lot of old school technology that was lost, like carbon fiber. Why are they not going, a brand used carbon fiber, and I can say their name because they're not around, which is Comar. Comar Lighting was making their fixtures out of carbon fiber for not only durability, strength, but weight.
Yeah, I was about to say weight. It makes a huge difference.
A huge difference. And they're able to take a hit. If a shackle hit a Comar of carbon fiber, it was not as detrimental as now. Now it'll shatter the whole housing. I mean, once that happens, you're either pulling another one off the truck or your tech is scrambling to fix it. But you never know when you get something rogue happens,
Yeah.
And at that point, your investment. Oh, I spent $10,000 on this light. No, you should have spent $15,000.
Right.
And gotten it. But there's a lot of old school technologies, and I brought this up with a lot of manufacturers. Jack, go away, please. Jack, you're in the camera.
You're in the shot, bud.
Captain Jack Sparrow wants to be in the interview. He walks right in the camera. He's my hero.
Just
I love him.
makes a cameo, you know?
Yeah, we have to have a cameo of Jack. And there he is again with, okay. We wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, we're going to do this right. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of decisions that the industry still has to figure out, but the older generation, they've either gone into upper office and they're just yes men. You know, they don't really have a voice anymore. And I've got to give Marvin props, and I know I keep talking about it, but over all the years I was there, he relied on me doing the research and knowledge. Obviously, it was his checkbook, so I was always aware of that.
Yeah.
But I always told him, you know, if you're going to buy a Ferrari to drive in the woods, you're talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You know, give me something tracked, it's got some armor on it, I'm just going to smash shit, and I'm going to survive at the other end.
Yeah.
I might not get there as fast, but I'm going to get there.
But if I'm on a close course with the right banks, and give me the, you know.
Give me the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And there's always Ferraris that are needed, you know, and, you know, the technology advancements are so crazy now. The channel counts are going through the roof. The lack of training on the lighting fixtures is becoming a really big problem because they just don't know any better, which is why I was saying earlier, I want to make a spreadsheet that cross-references for guys. If a rider comes in with a particular brand, well, what do we have that's close that we can use if I don't have that one on hand?
Yeah.
You know, and just make a simple, laminate it, go old school, so they can just flip it open.
Yeah.
They don't have to try to run through the computer, you know, and I think the little things like that will make a huge impact. And it would work for any company with sales, because sales guys are expected to know every element of it. There's no way they can't.
Well, and it changes so fast now. It's a lot. You gotta stay on your feet all the time, and like it's like that with microphones with me. You know, it's like, hey, they just came out with this whole new set, you know, this new capsule, and everybody wants it, and you gotta have it. And it's like, wait, what? I've never even heard of that. You know, it's
well, yeah, or you get this too, and I've seen this. Remember when they came out with the capsule, the foam to put over the mic,
right? Yeah.
For the wind. Yeah, it worked, but it also muffled the artist.
Right, it changed the
totally changed their way they sounded. So what do the manufacturers do? They go in and go, we put a baffle in the microphone to fix this problem.
That's right.
Yeah. What did it do to the sound? Can you show me the dynamics of the mic and to show me the difference between the two?
Yeah.
You know, that was the same thing going back to lighting. I go back to it because that's what I specialize in. How many lumens am I losing because you made an IP light?
Right.
And some of them is substantial.
Yeah.
Well, it's still waterproof. It's still this brand. Yeah, but it's not any brighter than my mag light in my pocket. What are you doing here? What's going on? You know, and that's the challenge that the industry dealing with now. So what do? They go to LEDs. Wait a minute. You're at 1,200 watt LEDs on. How are you cooling that?
Oh, we didn't think we'd have to.
It's an LED.
It's cool burning, right?
You know how you see the light is because it's producing heat, and the heat is what makes
something
that happen.
Somewhere is burning.
Yeah, something is getting toasty.
Yeah.
And not me, for that matter. It's the damn light, you know? I mean, there's just so many variables involved in it right now that there's not a lot of people that take the time to do it, learn it, and figure out what's a good buy. It's hard to have an owner. It's hard to go to an owner and say, I need you to spend $1.5 million, and I can't tell you how long the LEDs are going to last.
Yeah.
You know, because they'll lie to you and say you get 50,000 hours. That's not the truth. Guys, you say what you want.
Ideally, you will.
Add that word.
Yeah.
I am not taking this waterproof light into a lab and I'm running it through a 60-degree air conditioning system, guys. I'm putting it outside in the desert doing an EDM festival that hasn't seen rain in 7 months.
Yeah.
Just cooking them. Cooking them. How are you going to keep them cool? Well, we put fans in them. Where's the air come from?
Right.
You know, these are questions that you got to ask so you can go back to the man that's writing the checks and have at least some sense of reason behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just a lot of variables that I see that's going to get lost. It's not just with me. It's just with this generation because there's no transitional guys left.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. They're either in positions up in these bigger companies where their skill sets are being wasted.
Yeah.
You know, they wear suits and ties and go to events instead of actually sitting down and making a plan for purchase plans and looking at the technology and learning the technology and saying, okay, hold on a minute here. Because then you're dealing with, okay, the band only has this much budget. That doesn't mean I need to buy cheap lights for the band.
Right, yeah.
You know, that's another loophole the companies do. They buy a cheaper brand light, but then they're just going to throw them away at the end. Or you're going to see them on used light sources somewhere selling them for pennies on the dollar because they already made their money.
Right.
But who suffers in the end? It's the guy writing the big check, or it's the artists themselves because they're being limited by what technology they were given.
You either get worse lights or you get fewer good lights.
Yeah.
And neither one of those to have that technology.
See, he bought more boxes. He bought more J's because
Yeah.
the J is still an active box.
Yeah, you can still use J's. People are happy with them.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things that I heard was people, some of the older, like 80s rock bands,
prefer them.
are used to having that, because the KSL pushes everything forward, which is great for most things. But especially if you have a lot of really sensitive mics on stage, like orchestral stuff. You want all the PA going that way.
Yep.
You want the stage isolated. But, man, the J's have that that low end that comes off of them.
Yeah.
And it's like those guys playing those heavy riffs on guitars. They need that from the PA. So,
well, that was actually considered a problem back in the old days with JBL with the HLA box because it was the speakers were in a frame.
Yeah.
And the blowback was so loud because of exactly what you're saying, but the way, there was no cabinet insulation. So now you're stuffing them with insulation, trying to stop the back blow, you know, and a lot of guys were having a lot of problems until they adjusted. And then now with the advent of the technology they have now, you're looking at the same thing you're saying. Unless they really want to feel it, you're not, because it's not designed for that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really strange because a lot of people, we've done a lot of festivals, as you well know, but a lot of those guys that have never played on high quality PA are like, it's not loud enough when they're standing backstage.
Yeah.
Walk up front.
Exactly.
And they're like, holy cow, what did you do? We didn't do anything. It's the technology, and the technology dictates that what you're going to get.
Well, and it's got a much smaller power draw also, because like you have more energy headed that way. So in order to get it up to, 110 dBA in front of house like they want it, you only use half the electricity because you don't need to push it as hard.
And then you see a lot of old school engineers have a problem with it because they suddenly start overdriving the console in front of house because they want, they have headroom. They're like, ooh, we got more room.
Yeah.
Dude, you're at 125 right now. Where are you going with this?
Well, and again, you were talking about subs earlier. Like the subs are directional, and you build these arrays out of them where those people you were talking about in the very front row, they call them the rail riders, You get like a Skrillex show. You were talking about doing stuff with Skrillex. Like you liquefy people in the front row like that. And I mean, some people live for that shit. And I mean, more power to them.
Yeah,
but
good luck.
And trust me, I love a good low end in front of house. Like I want my teeth to rattle a little bit. But I whenever I turn a rig on and I play a song through it and I walk through, I play Dave Tipper, and just walk around the whole venue and listen to the balance and everything. But like up in the front, whenever the low sub harmonics of it, I can't handle that shit, man. And some of those people just love it. So
and they eat it up.
More power to you. But now you can do that same amount of heavy lifting with like a fraction of the electricity. And your amps run cooler.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's reflective in the buildings now, because when I started, if you didn't have multiple 600 amp disconnects in the room, we couldn't do a show.
Right, yeah. You got to have all that.
Now you're lucky if you get 400s.
Right.
It's industry standard, which saves the building construction costs because of the advancement of the technology.
Yeah.
Lighting's the same way. I mean, you still have a lot of bigger lamps out there, a lot of 1,500, 1,700 watt lamps, but the offset, the balance to that is the LED sources that are also being used. Your loads are much lower. I mean, you read your meter and you're like, really? We need more shit.
The whole rig is drawing how many amps?
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. We need more shit. We didn't bring enough shit.
Yeah.
I need more lights. Or you can share power, too. That's another thing now. If you're in a bind, you can share with audio because, again, the grounding issues have been taken care of. The dimmings on the fixture, everything's been fixed.
Right. There's no 60 cycle buzz in the audio because you got dimmer packs on the
none. Yeah. And all that's gone, and the power consumption collectively has dropped immensely. Do I recommend that? No. But when you're in a bind and you're at a festival or something, and you have to do it. You can, and that's the beauty of the technology nowadays.
Yeah. Well,
From when I started, you told a lighting guy and an audio guy they're sharing, but I'd be like, no. You're out of your damn mind, man. That's going to be crazy, and it was because it bang, wang,
Right,
it
yeah.
was, and it was a shit show. Yeah,
I mean,
get it.
and that's a cool thing about technology. It lets you run, like you said, run power through lighting and audio, and be able to get even the video guys. Get
Yeah,
power
now
too,
video is a whole nother animal because those things are power hogs. Believe it or not, they're using more power than everybody, and people don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of the wall and what they're driving, how bright are they running them? I mean, you can get away with a video wall at 40%, and still have a light show and still have a show. When you go into an EDM festival, they're at 100%, and they're coming at you.
Yeah.
Your eyes are getting fried. It's not even the lighting anymore. You don't even realize what you're taking. What you're taking in and processing in your mind, way beyond what you visually are seeing.
Well, I mean, any of it. There's a dynamic to it. You can't come out at 100% the whole time. If there's a moment where you need 100%, hell yeah, do it. Give it to them.
Yeah,
but like there also needs to be like a 10% moment as well.
Well, yeah, but see, they don't think like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that's a generational thing. There's a younger sense that 100% is mandatory. They don't understand the differences in output and what you're doing. I mean, on anything, audio, lighting, video, it's all the same. They're the guys that have had to experience the technology changes and understand what they're doing. They're going away, man.
Yeah.
And I really keep harping on that because I really would like to see a lot of these kids take the time to sit with these guys and talk to them.
Yeah.
And I try to get that with the staff over there, and I get zero. I'll talk to James every day on different things, but I don't have the other people call me and ask me questions. And how do you work around problems? If I want to do a UV scene, well, you have to drive them at 100%. But you're going to have to dim down your yellow if you're cutting through with a no color or a CTO or CTB, whatever you're doing. You have to understand the nuances of dimming and the output and the capacity of what you're using, and that's fixture knowledge, and they don't have it. They just don't have it. Some fixtures don't perform well at 10%.
Yeah.
They don't. They're struggling, So you have to learn their tolerances and the ranges that the fixtures can operate in effectively. If not, your show looks like shit.
So if you had to pick, if you could give 3 bits of advice, 3 bullet points to somebody who is up and coming, wants to get in.
I would tell them, do your research and do your homework.
Yeah.
Learn all the facets of the industry. Do not be a one-show pony. Be able to communicate with your riggers, your electricians, your audio engineers, your video technicians. I'm not telling you to master them, but at least be able to have be able to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Be a problem solver. Don't be a problem causer.
Yeah.
A lot of guys out there are real hard and are very fickle to work with because they're really intimidated by the knowledge of others around them. So they take their trident, which is the consoles, whatever it is, and they slam their fists and say, this is how it's got to be. But they can't tell you why.
Yeah.
So if you're up and coming, be diverse and be able to communicate. You have to be able to communicate. I'm sure if you took this microphone and put it in front of 10 different people, you get mumbles and bumbles and no clarity or direction or focus. None. They don't have it.
Deer in the headlights kind of.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Even, when you're communicating with clients on the phone, be able to have the knowledge to be able to be diverse in fixture styles. If they're looking for a lumens, which is the output of the light, know your inventory. Know what you have in your inventory that's close or the same. So if they have a particular scene that they're trying to build and they need a certain output from your light, your spot, or your wash, make sure you know what you can give them. Don't just sit there and go, I don't know. Because the words I don't know to me as an experienced LD tell me you're a moron.
Right.
And you have no knowledge of what we're talking about. You're just here to connect a cable and move through your life.
Well, and I mean, the world needs techs too, but the techs need to be knowledgeable.
That's right.
And
I have stagehands I worked with for at least a decade now. I will not name companies because I don't want to hurt feelings, that still cannot connect a DMX cable properly.
Right.
Is that by choice? Some of it is. Play dumb, act dumb, do less.
Right.
You know, if you
That's
have,
a job security thing. It keeps them in that job and nowhere else.
And that shows me what type of person you are.
Yeah.
You know, if you choose to be in that same, like you said, slot or group of people, then you'll always be a case pusher. You have no ambition. Yeah, you might do drugs. That's why you do stage work. Is that a good thing? I don't care. But if you can if you can do cabling, you know, then you're an asset to me.
Yeah.
You know, when I had my own lighting company, we were setting up for a couple different tours, and I made the guys on the tour build the rig several times. Set it up, tear it down, set it up, tear it down, set it up, tear it down. Well, through a period of time, you get to know these people. Some are drinkers, some like to do hallucinogenics, some likes to do cocaine, some likes methamphetamines. Go out and get their drug of choice and load it down. Get them really wasted, and I'll do the rig.
Yeah.
Watch what happens.
You're right.
Because you're going to be able to pick who's going to survive on the road.
Yeah.
Another bit of information, kids, I say kids, young adults, there is no adult supervision.
No.
So you are on your own to survive. Whether you don't, all I can recommend is clean socks, clean clothes, do not smell like an ass.
Showers are important.
Showers vital.
Yeah.
Your other thing is key to being able to survive is to know when to say when.
Yeah.
Because you're with a band for whatever, you know, again, I started in the 80s, and I always had a joke, every day is Friday. Because to these people, you're their Friday night. They're going to dump out copious amounts of every drug you can think of. You know what, you have to learn as an adult when to say when.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're useless. You're on the tour bus hungover, or you're strung out and you're up for 2 or 3 days, and you're not doing your job. You're detrimentally going to hurt somebody or hurt yourself. You know, injuries happen from negligence. Negligence is a lot of it's drug related in our industry. You know, and your money is the other thing. You're gonna see these dollars and cents coming through your hands very rapidly. The best advice I can give is all your pay should go home. Live off your per diem. Don't live beyond your means.
Yeah.
Don't owe the local drug dealer because you're working for him at that point.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you have money put back because there's going to be slow times, or you just want to take a break.
Yeah, you might need like a day off, whatever that.
Yeah,
I'm
you
still
just
not sure what that means.
Home. I don't either. Well, I do now because of this, but I've realized that the world spins fast, and it'll throw you off if you're not ready and prepared. There's no reason, there's no reason why you shouldn't have money when you come off tour, unless you have somebody at home running you through the ringer.
Right.
And be prepared. And the last thing is, touring is not as easy as it sounds because you leapfrog through time.
Yeah.
So friends that you had that were your close friends when you left, you come back 6 months later, they've already moved on to a different circle of people. Mentally, you have to be strong enough to prepare yourself for that, or they're going to die, or that club that you used to go hang out at is gone.
Yeah.
A girl you might have a crush on now is pregnant with another person. I'm just throwing out situations because we never, I learned really, really hard that people literally, you're leapfrogging through time. Especially if you get a year tour, you come back in a year, a lot happens in a year.
Yeah.
Not only to you emotionally and physically, your whole lifestyle changes. Your sleep patterns are wrong. Your eating patterns are wrong. Everything is off, and you get home and then you're calling your friend and he's at home with his wife. You're like, when did you get married? Oh, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were seeing somebody. Well, you're gone, out of sight, out of mind. And you have to be mentally strong enough to handle all that, or else you're going to completely cave in and break down and turn into a dope fiend freak when you're on your off time looking for a cheap tour. You're living your life paycheck to paycheck, and that's not the way you want to do it. You just don't want to do it. That's the best advice that I can give people. Survive, man. Survive.
And I like the point that you made about putting some money up and not spending it all. Just because you made that today doesn't mean you got to spend it all today.
That's right.
Because I don't know. Do you remember 2020 whenever the entire world hit the e-brake and it was like, hey, all those concerts and festivals and everything we've been doing to make money, they're not going to be doing those for a while. We're not sure when they're going to come back. Just go home. Yeah. And
good luck.
Yeah. By the way, you still need to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Still got to pay the rent, whatever it is. So, bye.
I remember when we were doing Nelly in the casino, and they started to mandate masks literally on that day. and they came up to us and said, "We're not doing this.
Yeah.
We don't want you guys to do this. We don't want to portray this image." And that was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and they had big plans to do touring with us, and it all went away.
Yeah.
I mean, the monitor system was so badass. Zach had it so dialed in. He was telling us, "You're the only people I know I ever had to turn my shit down," and he was very proud of that fact. And they were very interested, and it all vapor trailed, just disappeared.
Damn.
But they don't understand that, because we don't retain the memories of it. It's just
Well, and it's one of those things, it's like any other traumatic event. You try to block it out, especially after things get a little better, right? And it's like, all right, well, it's moving again, and it's happening. Like, well, that'll, and like I personally, I don't want to get too deep into that, but I don't think it'll happen like that ever again.
never.
But and there's too many safeguards they've put in place. There's too many people in the scientific
Society
community,
in general will not do it.
Well, and like, okay, well, we have to shut everything down because we don't have a safeguard for this. We don't have it.
Right.
But now it's like, okay, well, over time, we've come up with a way to.
But Walmart stayed open.
Yeah. Hey, man, and they're about to go back to 24 hours again, I saw online. So, like, shout out to them. I wish KD's in Lake Charles would be 24 hours
Oh,
again.
yeah. We used to hit that place at 3 o'clock in the morning, eat it with the big Kev nacho specials. That thing would kill you.
Special. Oh, my God.
And then we'd have to eat on top of that. I was like, "Are you going to eat all that and that?" He's like, "Hell yeah." We'd go in there. I never got with that because they put shrimp on it. I was like, "Nope, I can't eat it.
Yeah.
I'm allergic to seafood, but I'm not scared to eat everything else." But yeah.
Every meat the place served
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
on nachos.
Yeah. Oh,
And just, yeah.
And it was, it was a good 8 inches tall, and the plate was a giant, like a platter, and they called them the Big Kev nachos. Go try them sometime. Don't be scared. But
Yeah.
you better be ready.
Right, I was about to say, yeah.
You better be ready. I hope you don't have no plans later, because you're going night-night after all that.
Nap time. That's
I miss all that, I
Yeah.
mean, but again, you can't tell people that. These kids are, when you're in your 20s, you're immortal,
yeah.
I thought that. I always thought, hell, I could do whatever I wanted. I mean, hell, up into my 40s. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I was partying every day, because obviously I had family, and I realized that, hey, hold on a minute, maybe this isn't the best of ideas. But these kids now, I try to warn them, but they're too arrogant and too ignorant to learn and listen,
Yeah.
and they won't.
Well, and I mean, like, time has a way of teaching all, you know.
It's
and
called death.
Yep. Or just mortality, even.
Yeah.
Because whenever I got to my late 20s, I had done the nightclub DJ thing for a long time, and I'd been all over the place. And, my life was a constant. I had a day job, but I had a night job, too, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, like, I guess it was around the time I became a dad, I, like, went to the doctor, and he was like, hey, you got this thing, and it's going to bother you forever. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Mortality.
Like, yeah.
That's the shit that like mine, of course, obviously mine was a little more extreme. Here I was, 52 years old, thinking I'm getting ready. I've got it, I'll do 10 more years because I had that in me, and I'm going to retire, and I'm going to be sit on my porch and look at the fish in the lake. And I come out of the fucking doctor's office, and I got a terminal illness. That just was a reality check that I wasn't expecting, but here it is. Here we are talking about.
Well, and I mean, like, it's the journey we all take through space and time, and like, you think about deep space and all the shit out there moving at incomprehensible speeds, just running and like not running into anything, and eventually it's just gonna smash into something.
Yeah, and that's life. That's what it does to you.
And we're all just shit flying
it's
through
a reality
space.
It's a reality check where it is what it is. As I always tell everybody, it was the hand I was dealt.
Yeah.
Some of us are dealt hands to play longer in the game. Eventually, we're all going to pass.
Right.
It's just production. Like my doctor told me, he said, your life expectancy, you shouldn't expect to live long. You're under an enormous amount of pressure. You're traveling continuously. Your sleep patterns are bad. Your eating patterns are bad. Your drug use, if you're using it, is uncontrolled. There's no checks and balances. You're out on tour with bands that have access to people that are willing to give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
And if you're not controlled out there and have some sense of, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't do 10 hits of acid tonight. I got a show tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, I use that
I
as
need my
example.
brain this
week.
week.
Yeah, because I've been there. I've done dumb shit. So I tell them, to think about what you're talking and what you're doing and what do you want to get out of this industry. If you're looking for fame, you're in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to shake hands with stars, you're in the wrong place. The best relationship you can have with somebody is they're on the same level you are and you're all friends.
Yeah.
You know, I've
And
had,
they
I've had
appreciate
2
what you do.
autographs in my whole career, and it was both for my ex-wife. And I mean, I've never done a pick. I don't care about all that.
Right.
I'm not here for a piece of history. You know, if they're going to give me a tour shirt, like I had hundreds of tour shirts, she gave them all to charity, homeless shelter.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but now there's people walking around with shirts that, you know, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, all these people, homeless people are wearing metal shirts. Some of those shirts are collector's items that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just gave them all away, you know, but then I look back and I'm like, who cares? I mean, I can't take it with me.
Right.
You know, you look around my house right now, there's no memorabilia. I don't have any, I don't play that shit. And kids these days, that's what they want. They want to be in the lead bus, hanging out with a singer and being friends. They don't care about you. It's a job.
Well,
now, if you grew up together, it's a different animal. You know.
But I mean, like in reality, like and it's a huge misconception. I get that from people all the time. Like, oh, you got to work with so and so. Like, oh my God, I love them. How were they? And it's like, well, I got to see them for the show, and I got to see them for sound check. And maybe, depending on who they were, maybe they like came out when they arrived at the venue to look at the stage and say, okay, and that was it. You know, it's not like we were hanging out backstage, chit chatting, like, because I was working.
Yeah.
I was making sure that whenever it came time to do sound check or do the show, like,
I mean, like me, I've done 5 presidents in the United States. I have clearance to do presidents, and I've done 5. I think I met 1, 2, ran into one literally. That was a funny story, but at the end of the day, to me, it was just another event.
yeah,
You know. But to other people, to tell them that they take that one tidbit of information, not knowing what it took to get there, not knowing what we went through to get to security, Secret Service. They don't know any of that shit. They don't care. They're just focused on one. You know, they fixate on one thing. That's why when people ask me, "Who's your favorite artist? Who's your worst?" I know my worst, and I'm not going to say it because I left that clusterfuck real fast.
Yeah.
I mean, but favorites were the guys that I worked with, you know, I like them on their way up when they're more grounded.
right.
And I still have good relationships, with a few, but, I look back on it with a fondness. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. My eyes have seen things that most people haven't, but at expense of my kids.
Yeah.
Expense of family life. Don't think you're going to have a solid marriage because there's always going to be doubt you're doing something, or you might be doing something. Your other half's at home carrying all the weight of what it takes 2 people to do. Your other half's raising your children, making sure the light bills get paid, making sure the house notes are paid. You know, there's so many levels that these kids, these people that get into this industry have no concept of. They don't get it. The stress is behind it. The amount of money involved that it takes to, I want to own my own company. Okay, how are you going to do it? Do you have a plan? No, I'm just going to get a band and I'm going to... No.
Right. I'm going to get a band first, and then they're going to get famous, and we're going to make a lot of money. Like, all right, yeah. Sounds great, man.
Yeah, great plan.
I'm in. Tell you what, call me.
Sign me up, Coach. Put me in the game.
Call me when that happens, and I'll be right there.
Everyone's always looking for the speeding bullet, which is a tour that gets hot. It starts off small where you have a good relationship with them, and then it explodes, and you're right there with them. Well, you have a problem here. Can you do that? Can you grow with artists that rapidly financially, or they have to go to a different company that can take care of their needs? You know, production growth, whether it's PA or lighting or video or whatever it is.
Right.
I've been there firsthand. I understand it.
There's a lot of people that can do production in a nightclub. There's not a lot of people that can do production in an arena.
That's right.
And whenever you go from one to the next, it's like, hey, sorry, man, but you physically don't, like, everything you own wouldn't do half of what we need to do it today.
And it's a really hard decision.
Yeah.
You know, that artists, because they're your friend, are dealing with. And they're dealing with, those that have a sense of concern or compassion for your future. But then you have the record labels that are advancing millions of dollars that want the production to be to the level where they portray the band at. So you kind of get lost in the shuffle. You know, I mean, and it happens. I've done like Supercross was one. We started with Supercross. We were the first company to do lighting for Supercross in these big stadiums, and that was a massive project that we probably shouldn't have undertaken looking back because of technology limitations. and also the financial limitations because they didn't understand the economics because it was so new. I'm talking about decades ago that now it's a well-oiled machine. But when we did it, we learned School of Hard Knocks and Hard Rocks, to say the least, because there was always flying chunks, breaking mirrors, hitting you in the face, get cut up. It was rough, man. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And we blazed that trail to them phase it out because of economics, to come back 2 decades later with a more oiled machine. And a lot of that learning curve came from all the experiences that we suffered when we were out there with them. So
Yeah.
good luck to all of you out there. I say that with a fondness, and learn your craft, man. Quit being afraid and arrogant to talk to people, because that's where you get in trouble. Have that person you can call and trust, can answer. That might not be a good idea. You got to tell them that might be a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, and like learning how to give yourself a grain of salt is a big key too. Is keeping yourself humble, and you learn that by getting that humility from others. Like for them to say, "Hey, man, do what you want. It's your show. It's your rig. It's your whatever." But hey, like I've fought this battle a lot of times, and that's not the
and
way
there's always going to be somebody out there that's better at what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's inherently human nature. They might not be able to do everything you do. That's the value in being multifaceted. There's always a better button pusher. Mm-hmm. There's always a better board op. But can that board op go tell me how many amps are on the rig? No. Can that board op go talk to the riggers and have a civil convert, understand what they're telling you? No.
Yeah.
Go talk to the audio guys to see why they have to place their PA in a position that might obstruct your lights. You have to be able to deal with people and work as a team in a unit, but still keep your individuality and your mind about you, your wits. Even bus etiquette. People don't realize, you're going to ride in a tour bus. You ever been on a bus with 10 guys? It's not a pretty experience. It's not. Some people have different cleanliness standards, clothing standards. Some people have habits that they like to do, drink, smoke, snort, whatever it is. I don't care. But if you think you're going to just get on a bus and peacefully go to sleep, there's always noise.
Yeah.
You have to learn to adapt. And in my case, I had to find the right bus to fit in the right bunk.
Yeah.
So the bunks are 6'5", people. Little word of advice. Now, the newer ones are probably a little bigger, but I'm talking Golden Eagle days, old school, I learned real fast that at 6'7", trying to get into a berth, into a bunk, it was always the bottom bunk, always in the back, because they're a little longer because of the wheel well.
Yeah.
Well, you know where the roughest ride on a bus is? Right over the wheel well. Head hit the ceiling, beat my ass many times, so many times I can't even talk about it, man. Shit.
Yeah. Well, and that's what a lot of people don't realize about bus life too, is like you're in a car, you can like sleep in a car, and it's never really good sleep. It's like plane sleep. It's all the same. Like transit sleep is like, yes, you went to sleep, but was it rest? Like, I don't know.
Never REM. You never get there, buddy.
Yeah,
You're always aware of what's around you. Always know the noise.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not for everybody, for sure.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say is these people that are in these very sterile environments, they profess that they want to do this for a living, whether it's being an LD or being a tour manager or a production manager or, any of that stuff. If you have to travel with individuals, there's multiple personalities and everybody has their own point of view. You're dealing with lots of alpha males. I'm really glad to see more females in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few out there that that I like working with female designers. They see color differently. They see things differently. But our industry is so testosterone driven that there's a lot of fear to get in. There's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of shit that shouldn't be going on, and relationships are formed that should never form. And it contaminates the work environment. And it's a bad situation all the way around. There's nothing, it's got its pluses, but it sure has more minuses.
Yeah. And that's one of those things. Don't dip your pen in the company ink or whatever.
Yes. Don't do your own supply. Yeah,
that's right.
We'll take that from Scarface. There you go. I mean, it's just how it is, and people don't get that because they look at the glamour of it. I'm not saying don't try it, but there's a saying: you can roll a snowball in the hell, but will the block of ice come back?
Right. Yeah.
9 out of 10 times it melts into a puddle and gets vaporized. It's the tough, rock hard people that come back out a block of ice. Block of ice is made of snow, but it's got the durability, the longevity, and the strength to survive. And that's the key to it. That's the whole. These guys that are out there, I love you all. Please be safe out there. You're crazy fuckers for doing it, but it's got to get done.
Yeah.
We're in the golden age of production. Post, shutdown. This is the if you're not working right now, you really don't. Either you're not good or you're lazy.
Yeah.
Because the industry is so streamlined from COVID that the demands are there for the same volume of staffing that was there pre-COVID, and a lot of people left.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and are happy they did. They look back with fondness. Some don't. Some died. Some committed suicide because they couldn't handle life away from touring. And
yeah.
Be careful out there, folks. Be careful.
Yeah. Well, and so I asked about the up and comers. What would you, in the same way, what a couple pieces of advice would you give to people who are still in the game and have a good bit of experience and need to ride out these next 10, 15, 20 years?
Start thinking about retirement. Again, I'll go back to the money part. You're accustomed, and I know a lot of guys that I could pick out of this that they were living the rock star lifestyle. They had 6 4-wheelers at their house. They had jet skis. All that shit costs money.
Yeah.
And when your body finally says enough's enough, you better have a plan in place. And I don't mean liquidating your assets. I mean have a plan in place. You guys still have time. Even if you're in your 50s, some of them I know that are in their 60s, you're pushing the end of that umbrella. You're at the end of that period where you have put away enough. You should be prepared. But they won't be, because, again, they're in my era. We live day to day. We did a lot of things. Now, that being said, there are grounding elements. As you said yourself, when you had your child, things change.
Yeah.
Children are, right now, to have a child and send it to college, 4-year school, is $322,000. Just one kid. Mm-hmm. Now you have car payments, you have house payments, if in fact you're in a house. If you're 50 or 60 years old and you're on tour and you have an apartment, you live alone, that's a different story. But if you have a family, that's to these people that are at that age, like even where I'm at, be prepared for the end.
Yeah.
You spend your whole life trying to climb this mountain and get to the top of your professional field, only to find out that you didn't put nothing back, and now you're descending, you're going back down this hill, and it's a lot harder. The people that you burn on the way up or disrespected are people that are in positions of power, and they can make your life a living hell.
Yeah.
Shit gigs, poor paying shows. It's tough, man, but money to me is the number one thing. Number 2 would be your health. Take care of yourselves. If something hurts you, and it's hurt you for 5 years, it's time to go get it checked out.
Yeah.
At that point, your body has told you for 5 years you have something wrong, whether you have tendon damage, ligament damage, heart damage, you're having problems with, prostate, whatever the hell it is, you need to go get checked. Your health is important. A lot of tours have health insurance on it. They don't like it used because it makes you look weak. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. The health insurance is in place for accidents, but it also gives you the ability to just go get a checkup.
Yeah.
Go get yourself checked out. You guys that are my age out there, you really need to start thinking about it, because you enter these later parts of your life thinking you're immortal, and you're not. You're broken in many ways and don't realize it, nor you're too stubborn to go to a physician to be told, hey, man, you might not be able to do this anymore, but you can still do this. It's not a doomsday thing. Well, I shouldn't say that, because in my case it was. But you still have your mind. You still put yourself in positions where you're helpful in the industry. Consulting, there's money to be made out there should you choose to go that route. But you can't stay on a tour bus forever.
Yeah.
I mean, the straight to the bottom line is figure out, are you good at maybe being in an office position? Are you better off being in a shop position where you can help with sales? Are you good with people? Look at yourself in the mirror and say, are there other facets that I could do? Just like this interview right here, there's a lot of guys that couldn't do this interview. They can't talk their way through it.
It would have been 5 minutes long.
Yeah, they're knowledgeable, but they don't have the knowledge to communicate properly. I've had many people go, man, you sound like a lawyer. Until they see me when I used to look, they'd be like, dude, your hair's down to your waist, and your ears are pierced, and you have tattoos. We were not expecting this.
Oh, and being articulate is almost a superpower these days.
Yeah.
You know, most people can type, but the thing about texting or whatever is like you can backspace and you can.
Yeah.
Oh, let me rephrase that. That didn't come across the
Right.
way I wanted it to, and it's like, no, man. Speaking is a whole different thing, and communicating
It's emotion.
verbally, exactly. It's you have to be able to connect and feel the way the conversation flows, and you know, if nothing else, just walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, kind of know where
Yes,
they're coming from.
that's the truth right there. You know, my doctor told me something. He said, Rich, I looked at your records. He said, you've done this now your whole adult life. And he explained to me the diet and everything else. And he told me something. He said, if you can keep me in my seat for these, I won't name the band because it was really insulting. He couldn't stand the band, but his wife liked the band. So he went and he said, the lighting is what kept me in my seat.
Yeah.
He said, if you have the gift or the ability to do that to someone like myself, then you have a gift. He said, the day you quit using that gift is the day you're going to curl up in a ball and you're going to die. And that's what he told me.
Yeah.
And I said, I took that to heart. I was like, so I let him know at the office, and I'm always available for whatever to consult in any way, form, or fashion. You know, thanks to our great government in the United States, you're not allowed to make any money when you have Social Security, and I don't. So I live the way I live. I've been fortunate to have a loving family and compassionate people around me that take care of me and make this journey that I have left a much smoother, better place to be.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at, man. It's riding it out, brother.
Well, I mean, it's your perspective on it, and just to hear you talk about it is, you know, it's inspiring for me. Just to know you and to have known you for all these years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's you know,
I'm grateful for the time to just communicate it. You know, I there's a lot that needs to be said. I wish more people. I hope your format reaches others that go, you know what? Maybe I need to think about what I'm doing, or maybe I don't want to do this. You know, or whatever it is. You know, I've gotten the luxury of speaking in front of some college students, and I usually get this blank stare on their face. They look at me like, what? You know, I mean, because they're in a very sterile, controlled, theatrical environment. They have no idea. When it's time to eat lunch, they go eat lunch.
yeah.
They don't realize there's some days you don't get to eat until dinner. You have to miss meals. Shit has to get done. The show must go on.
You end up with your fried Twinkie blowing powdered sugar
That's
all
what
over
I'm
the
talking
cops.
about. Shit for shit. My record's 15 years of corn at a festival in San Antonio, and I stand by it.
All right.
Yep, street corn, 15 years got me through it. I was happy.
Elotes, man.
Orale.
I love it, man.
That was Selena.
Well, and you did that. I mean, you were on the tour whenever she died, right?
Yeah, we were under contract with them when she got murdered, and we were setting up. We were going to do. We had more dates planned. I don't remember who the promoter was, but we got along with her dad. He really thought we were some crazy white boys. I mean, I was the only non-Latin person or Spanish-speaking person on the tour, so everybody thought I was shy or arrogant. I would just nod.
Right.
I knew enough to get me in trouble, and it was a great experience. But at the same time, I realized what a shit show we were part of. But when that happened, it was tear up the contract, throw it all in the trash, and walk away. Can you survive? Yeah, we survived. I mean, we were doing so many different Tejano shows at that time. We were all right. But when you have the biggest star in the world taken out in that scene, and you were part of it, that was a very detrimental part in our company's existence. It was like, whoa, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were still Emilio and other artists that were out there that we did. You know, he's now dead too. But looking back, we were very fortunate. We were in the right place at the right time with the right people, and we did a great job. We didn't fail. You know, so here I sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, survivor.
Well, and you know, that's really what life is all about. Even in, you know, this industry and everywhere else is like being able to keep on trucking and pick yourself up and you know.
And we were doing Enron, El Paso Energy, all that fraudulent shit, Bell, Bangra. Went through all those heydays, made a lot of money. Still have the Gobos to show for it.
Nice.
But just crazy times. I mean, it was just a crazy time in life going through when we went through, and that was the late '80s and then the early '90s, doing all the artists and regional shit, and it was the golden era. You know, it was fun. It was a different. Now it's more corporate. There's more restrictions. There's all the safety guidelines that they needed, but you know,
Right. Yeah.
but it's taken away the allure of it, you know, and you have these guys that are very sterile and they have no personalities because they didn't have to have one at the church. You know, they were told what to do and they did their job. They did it well. But now it's an influx of a generation that's very entitled. They don't care what you say.
Yeah, the show's the same every week, so just make sure that all the things are in place, and then you'll
all
get
your presets are good. They might be moved around. Change your color palette to last month's palettes, and you're good to go. You know, it's created a lot of people that are very lazy, and the creativity's gone away a lot in the industry because again, the consoles tell them what they can and can't do. The human mind element's is lost.
Well, I have this idea about doing like a not a DJ set, but like a thing from front of house that is like MIDI mapped to the lights. So like the lights in the video wall run off of the music being made. So the controller, or the keyboard, whatever it is, would cue this or that depending on what chord it was. It would be, you know, a G is a certain color, and if it was a D, it's a different color, and like, you know, and kicking around these ideas and like trying to make that work practically. You know, I'd have to build something. I got MA for PC, and I use Resolume with it, and then I have Ableton, which is the audio software that
You're on the right track.
So trying to make all those things talk together and to be able to do it and have it as an upsell, like, hey, I'll do the production for your festival, and I'll do a set. That is
awesome.
That is the whole rig.
You know, as long as the bands are okay with it, because some of these guys don't want, as they say, they don't want to shoot their wad. And if you're using the rig, they might complain about it, even if it's a different genre altogether.
Yeah.
But you still have you'll have pushback from people that don't want that. Because,
yeah, you don't want you to take it to full.
Well, you'll make them look bad too.
Right.
Because
you have to follow up this awesome.
We actually did something very similar when we did the Port Arthur Mardi Gras outside. Fuzzy was playing a bunch of EDM dance music, and I said, you know what? I was cold. I was just literally cold. So I synced up. He came in with it was a Skrillex song, and then we took off from there. The audience went insane, and the band had to follow it up. Was like, man. And they raised hell about it. But we went out there because I used the whole rig, and I took it all and grabbed it and pointed out it was all house, all audience abuse.
Yeah,
and it was badass. I mean, we killed it, but you know. You have to find the right place and the right people to allow you to do it, but I say fucking do it.
Yeah, well, and that's something that I'd really like to get together with some musicians where like that is how the night ends. It's a super jam, maybe featuring some of the people that played throughout the day.
Or have their instrument trigger a certain.
Exactly, like we'll map you in. We've got drum triggers, so you know you hit this tom, it is this cue. You hit that tom, it's a different cue. Like
do it.
That's something I'm kicking around, and I'd like to make a reality. You know, because that's It's. I was talking with Devin at this past weekend. We did Lagoon Fest in Texas City, and quick side note: you were talking about chain grease and how distinct it is. Of like, he was programming, so I went to get some food, and he's like, "Hey man, get me some whatever they have." I got him some chicken strips, and he was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for getting these, man." They really nailed the chain grease flavor in these chicken strips.
There it is.
And I was like, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that's how it is. Damn it.
But we were talking about this idea. I was like, man, I'd like to build it with this because we were nerding about some MIDI stuff he was gonna do with his guitar amp, and it's like being able to collaborate with multiple people where it's not the same thing every time either. Cause
and you're going to want to use fixtures with high pixelation rates. So I'll give you that advice. So the light can do more than just one thing. So if he hits a different chord on the guitar, like you said, you're in G, but you might hit something a little, it'll part of the light can react to it. You can pixelate it.
Yeah, okay.
So you can do split colors, and you can do different shit, or you can even do waves of images, and all this stuff that's coming out now has got real high pixelation rates. So you can build completely off of what you're doing on stage, and so the lights can be more than just one job. They can do multiple processes, and you'd have some over the top shit.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Send me a video. I'm in.
That's really the idea right now. I've been able to take a couple of weeks off to spend with my daughter. She's out of school finally. She came out to stay with us, so we've been hanging out every day and doing stuff. So, you know, while she's here, I'm going to do that. But I've also got a little bit of time during the day to, like, really get in it and try to make something happen. But I know that I can't do it alone. Like, my knowledge and my ability is...
might make it, that might be the beauty of it, your innocence in what you're trying to say. And I use that word because people will tell you can't do this because you shouldn't do it. Bullshit. You don't know any better, and you did it, and it came out really cool.
Well, and that's you know, if you look back at history, any of the big innovators were they knew enough, but they didn't know everything, and they also knew that they didn't know everything, so they asked and they got help. And
well, that's where Marvin's at. Marvin surrounded himself with knowledge. He surrounded himself with people that know what they're doing. You know, he knew the music side.
Yeah.